The towering war machines known as Titans trace their origins to humanity's golden age, when the species reached heights of technological mastery that would never again be equaled. During the dark age of technology, human civilization stretched across countless star systems, supported by standard template construct databases that contain the accumulated knowledge of millennia. Among these precious templates were the blueprints for the first god machines, colossal bipedal war engines designed to dominate battlefields with firepower that could level cities and armor thick enough to withstand orbital bombardment. The earliest Titan designs emerged from humanity's need to project overwhelming force across diverse planetary environments. These machines stood between 30 and 60 meters tall, their humanoid forms housing fusion reactors capable of powering weapons systems that drew upon the fundamental forces of the universe. The SDC patterns for these war engines represented the pinnacle of human engineering achievement, incorporating technologies that modern imperial scientists can barely comprehend, let alone replicate. Plasma annihilators, volcano cannons, and defensive void shields were standard components, while the machine's neural interface systems allowed a human pilot to merge consciousness with the Titan's machine spirit, creating a symbiotic relationship between flesh and steel. The original SDC patterns established design principles that would endure for tens of thousands of years. The distinctive humanoid silhouette served both practical and psychological purposes. The bipedal configuration provided superior mobility across varied terrain compared to tracked or wheeled vehicles, while the towering human form projected an unmistakable message of dominance to any who witnessed these machines in action. The modular weapon systems allowed for battlefield customization, with hardpoints designed to accommodate different armament configurations depending on tactical requirements. Most critically, the patterns included detailed specifications for the complex neural interface technology that would allow human operators to control these massive war engines as extensions of their own bodies. When the Age of Strife began, and humanity's interstellar civilization collapsed into isolated pockets of survivors, most worlds lost access to the knowledge required to construct and maintain such sophisticated war machines. The SDC databases were corrupted, destroyed, or simply forgotten as planets descended into barbarism and technological regression. However, on Mars, the red planet that had served as humanity's primary forge world during the dark age of technology, fragments of this precious knowledge survived the catastrophe that engulfed human space. The early mechanicum of Mars emerged from the ashes of the planet's original human colonists, who had been transformed by millennia of technological augmentation and exposure to the planet's harsh environment. These tech priests viewed the surviving SDC fragments as sacred relics, divine revelations from the Omnissiah that must be preserved at all costs. Among the most treasured of these artifacts were the incomplete Titan construction templates, which the Mechanicum's most skilled artisans spent centuries attempting to decode and reconstruct. During the long night that followed humanity's fall, Mars became a beacon of technological preservation in a galaxy consumed by darkness. The planet's vast forge complexes, powered by geothermal energy drawn from the world's molten core, continued to function even as communication with Terra and the rest of human space was severed. Within these industrial cathedrals, the Mechanicum's tech adepts labored to understand and reproduce the Titan patterns, often working from incomplete data and relying on trial and error to fill gaps in their knowledge. The first successful Titan construction on Mars occurred during the early centuries of Old Night, when the Mechanicum's forge masters managed to assemble a functional war engine using a combination of recovered SDC data and their own technological innovations. This prototype machine, standing 45 meters tall and armed with primitive plasma weapons, became the template for what would eventually be classified as the Warlord-class Titan. The success of this initial construction project marked the beginning of Mars's transformation into the primary center of Titan production in the galaxy. As the Mechanicum's understanding of Titan technology improved, they began developing standardized production methods and establishing the first Titan manufacturing facilities. These forge complexes were marvels of engineering in their own right, containing specialized assembly bays capable of constructing the massive war engines and testing chambers where newly completed Titans could be calibrated and prepared for service. The construction process required months of careful work, with each component individually crafted by master artificers and blessed by tech priests before installation. The emergence of functional Titan production capabilities led to the formation of the first Titan crews on Mars. These individuals, drawn from the planet's tech priest hierarchy, underwent extensive neural conditioning and cybernetic augmentation to interface with the war engine's control systems. The process of bonding with a Titan's machine spirit was both physically and mentally demanding, requiring pilots to surrender portions of their humanity in exchange for the ability to control these god-like machines. Many candidates failed to survive the integration process, their minds overwhelmed by the alien consciousness that dwelt within each Titan's cogitator arrays. Those who successfully bonded with their machines formed the core of Mars's first Titan Legion, a military formation unlike anything that had existed during humanity's previous age of expansion. These pilots, known as princeps, commanded their war engines with an authority that bordered on the divine, their enhanced minds capable of processing the vast amounts of sensory data required to operate weapons systems of unprecedented complexity. Supporting each princeps were teams of moderati and servitors, lesser crew members who managed specific systems and maintained the delicate balance between human consciousness and machine intelligence. The establishment of the Collegia Titanica as the supreme authority over all Titan operations represented the culmination of Mars's efforts to systematize and control these powerful war engines. This organization emerged from the Mechanicum's recognition that Titans represented strategic assets too valuable and dangerous to be managed through conventional military hierarchies. The Collegia Titanica established protocols for Titan crew selection and training, standardized maintenance procedures, and most importantly, created the command structure that would govern how these war engines were deployed in battle. Under the Collegia Titanica's authority, Mars's Titan production expanded significantly during the later centuries of Old Night. New forge complexes were constructed to meet growing demand, while the organization's tech adepts worked to refine construction techniques and improve the reliability of existing designs. The Collegia developed detailed classification systems for different Titan variants, establishing the categories that would later become standard throughout the Imperium. Scout-class Titans, designed for reconnaissance and rapid response, stood between 15 and 25 meters tall and prioritized speed and maneuverability over raw firepower. Battle-class Titans, the backbone of most Titan legions, ranged from 30 to 50 meters in height and carried balanced weapon loadouts suitable for engaging both enemy war engines and conventional ground forces. The most impressive achievements of Mars's Titan manufacturers were the Emperor-class Titans, massive war engines that stood nearly 60 meters tall and mounted weapons capable of destroying entire city blocks with single volleys. These machines required enormous resources to construct and maintain, with each Emperor-class Titan representing years of work by hundreds of skilled artificers. The neural interface systems of these giants were so complex that only the most experienced princeps could hope to control them effectively, and the strain of operating such machines often proved fatal to their crews over extended periods. When the Emperor of Mankind finally emerged from the unification wars on Terra and began his conquest of the Sol system, Mars's Titan legions represented the most formidable military force in human space outside of Terra itself. The Treaty of Olympus, which brought Mars into alliance with the nascent Imperium, recognized the Collegia Titanica's authority over all Titan operations and established the framework for expanding Titan production beyond the Red Planet. This agreement marked the beginning of a new phase in Titan development, as the Great Crusade's logistical requirements demanded war engines in numbers that Mars alone could not provide. The Great Crusade's expansion across the galaxy created unprecedented demand for Titan support, as the Emperor's forces encountered alien civilizations and human worlds defended by technologies that conventional Imperial army units could not effectively counter. Forge worlds established during the Crusade received Titan construction templates and technical support from Mars, allowing them to begin their own production programs under Collegia Titanica oversight. Each new Forge world that gained Titan manufacturing capability was required to adhere to standardized designs and construction protocols, ensuring compatibility and interoperability between war engines produced at different locations. This expansion of production capacity allowed the Collegia Titanica to establish new Titan legions throughout Imperial space, with each legion typically assigned to support specific expeditionary fleets or defend critical strategic locations. The standardization of Titan classifications became essential as production spread across multiple Forge worlds, with the Collegia developing detailed technical specifications that governed everything from weapon mounting points to neural interface protocols. These standards ensured that Moderati trained on one Forge world could effectively operate Titans constructed elsewhere, while also facilitating the development of standardized ammunition and spare parts that could be supplied to legions operating far from their home bases. The Forge worlds of Lucius, Ryza, and Metallica became major centers of Titan production during the Great Crusade, each developing specializations that reflected their unique technological capabilities and resource bases. Lucius became renowned for its advanced targeting systems and precision weapons, while Ryza focused on plasma technology and energy weapon development. Metallica's Titans were noted for their robust construction and reliability under extreme conditions, making them particularly valued for long-range expeditionary operations where maintenance support might be limited. The standardization efforts that emerged during the Great Crusade established three primary Titan classifications that would define battlefield doctrine for millennia to come. While the Collegia Titanica maintained construction templates for larger war engines, the practical demands of galactic warfare centered around three core designs that balanced manufacturing efficiency with tactical effectiveness. The Warhound Scout Titan, Reaver Battle Titan, and Warlord Battle Titan formed what Imperial strategists termed the Sacred Trinity, a hierarchical system of war engines that could be deployed in coordinated formations to achieve battlefield supremacy across any conceivable combat environment. The Warhound-class Scout Titan represented the smallest and most agile member of this trinity, standing approximately 14 meters tall and weighing roughly 400 tons when fully loaded. These machines embodied the principle that speed and mobility could compensate for reduced firepower, allowing Titan crews to engage enemy forces through hit and run tactics that maximize their advantages while minimizing exposure to concentrated return fire. The Warhound's distinctive lean silhouette, with its forward-canted torso and digitigrade leg configuration, provided exceptional maneuverability across broken terrain that would challenge larger war engines. The Warhound's reactor systems generated sufficient power to maintain sustained movement speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour across open ground, with short-duration sprint capabilities that could exceed 80 kilometers per hour when tactical situations demanded rapid repositioning. This mobility came at the cost of armor protection, as the Warhound's hull plating measured only 30 to 40 centimeters thick in most locations, sufficient to deflect small arms fire and shrapnel, but vulnerable to concentrated anti-armor weapons or direct hits from enemy Titan-grade armaments. The trade-off proved acceptable given the machine's intended role as a reconnaissance and harassment platform rather than a line of battle unit. Warhound armament configurations typically centered around two primary weapon systems mounted on the machine's arms, with each hardpoint capable of accepting a variety of specialized weapons depending on mission requirements. The most common loadout paired a plasma blast gun with a Vulcan megabolter, providing the crew with both anti-armor and anti-personnel capabilities. The plasma blast gun generated superheated plasma bolts capable of penetrating heavy vehicle armor at ranges exceeding 2 kilometers, while the Vulcan megabolter delivered devastating suppressive fire against infantry formations and light vehicles through its rapid-fire bolt shell delivery system. Alternative weapon configurations allowed Warhound crews to adapt their machines for specific tactical roles. The Inferno gun, a specialized flamer weapon that projected streams of burning promethium across wide areas, proved particularly effective against entrenched infantry positions and fortified structures. The Turbo Laser Destructor offered precision long-range fire capability, allowing Warhound crews to engage enemy armor from maximum standoff distances while maintaining their mobility advantages. Some Warhound variants mounted twin plasma blast guns for enhanced anti-armor capability, though this configuration placed additional strain on the machine's reactor systems and required careful power management during extended engagements. The Warhound's Void Shield array consisted of a single generator that projected a protective energy barrier around the machine's hull. While this defensive system could absorb significant amounts of incoming fire, it lacked the redundancy of larger Titans and could be overwhelmed by concentrated bombardment. Experienced Warhound crews learned to use their mobility to prevent enemies from achieving the sustained fire necessary to collapse their shields, employing terrain features and rapid movement to break targeting solutions before enemy gunners could deliver decisive strikes. Tactical deployment of Warhound Scout Titans emphasized their role as the eyes and ears of Titan maniples, with these machines typically operating several kilometers ahead of the main battle line to identify enemy positions and relay targeting data to heavier war engines. Their speed allowed them to exploit gaps in enemy formations, striking at vulnerable supply columns, artillery positions, and command centers before withdrawing to safety. The psychological impact of Warhound attacks often exceeded their direct military effect, as enemy forces found themselves under assault by war engines that appeared without warning and vanished before effective countermeasures could be implemented. In coordinated maniple operations, Warhounds served as force multipliers that enhanced the effectiveness of their larger companions. Their advanced sensor suites could paint targets for Reaver and Warlord Titans operating at maximum range, while their mobility allowed them to exploit weaknesses created by the heavy weapons fire of the main battle line. Warhound crews developed specialized tactics for herding enemy forces into predetermined kill zones, using their speed and firepower to channel hostile movements in directions that maximize the effectiveness of their maniples' concentrated firepower. The Reaver-class Battle Titan occupied the middle position in the Sacred Trinity, standing approximately 22 meters tall and massing nearly 800 tons in standard configuration. These war engines represented the optimal balance between firepower, protection, and mobility that made them the backbone of most Titan Legion deployments. The Reaver's broader torso and more heavily armored limbs provided mounting points for weapon systems that significantly exceeded Warhound capabilities, while maintaining sufficient speed and maneuverability to operate effectively in fluid battlefield conditions. Reaver Titans typically carried 3 primary weapon systems, 2 arm-mounted weapons, and a single carapace-mounted system that provided additional firepower or specialized capabilities. The most common armament configuration paired a Gatling blaster with a power fist, supplemented by a carapace-mounted Apocalypse missile launcher. This loadout provided the Reaver crew with engagement options across the entire spectrum of battlefield targets, from enemy Titans and super heavy vehicles to massed infantry formations and fortified positions. The Gatling blaster represented one of the most effective anti-Titan weapons in the Imperial arsenal, firing streams of high-velocity shells at rates exceeding 3,000 rounds per minute. Each shell contained a miniaturized explosive charge that detonated on impact, creating devastating effects against both armored targets and void shield generators. The weapon's sustained fire capability allowed Reaver crews to maintain continuous pressure on enemy war engines, gradually wearing down their defenses through volume of fire rather than relying on single decisive strikes. The power fist mounted on the Reaver's opposing arm served dual purposes as both a close combat weapon and a utility tool for battlefield engineering tasks. The fist's disruptor field generators could tear through the heaviest armor plating, making it devastatingly effective against enemy titans that close to melee range. The weapon's integrated systems included hydraulic crushers capable of grasping and manipulating battlefield obstacles, allowing Reaver crews to clear debris, breach fortifications, or even grapple with enemy war engines during close-quarters combat. Alternative Reaver weapon configurations reflected the machine's versatility and the diverse tactical requirements of Titan Legion operations. The laser blaster provided precision long-range fire capability, while the Melta cannon delivered devastating short-range anti-armor performance through focused thermal energy discharge. The Volcano cannon, one of the most powerful weapons available to Reaver-class Titans, generated focused beams of superheated plasma capable of penetrating the heaviest armor at extreme ranges, though its high energy requirements limited the rate of fire and placed significant demands on the machine's reactor systems. Carapace-mounted weapon systems enhanced the Reaver's tactical flexibility by providing additional firepower that could be independently targeted from the arm-mounted weapons. The Apocalypse missile launcher carried multiple warheads with different specialized effects, including armor-piercing penetrators, area effect explosives, and electronic warfare packages designed to disrupt enemy communications and targeting systems. The Turbo Laser Destructor offered precision fire support, while the Vulcan Megabolter provided suppressive fire capability against infantry and light vehicles. The Reaver's Void Shield array typically consisted of 3 generators that created overlapping protective barriers around the machine's hull. This redundant system provided significantly enhanced survivability compared to the single shield configuration of Warhound Titans, allowing Reaver crews to absorb concentrated enemy fire while maintaining offensive capability. The multiple shield generators could be cycled to prevent complete defensive collapse, with experienced crews learning to manage power distribution to maximize protection during critical phases of engagement. Reaver Battle Titans served as the primary line breakers in most Titan maniple formations, using their combination of firepower and durability to punch through enemy defensive positions and create gaps that could be exploited by supporting forces. Their balanced weapon loadouts made them effective against the full spectrum of battlefield targets, while their enhanced armor protection allowed them to operate in contested areas where Warhound Titans would be too vulnerable. The Reaver's mobility, while reduced compared to Scout Titans, remained sufficient to allow rapid repositioning and exploitation of tactical opportunities. The tactical doctrine surrounding Reaver deployment emphasized their role as anchor points for maniple operations, with these war engines typically forming the core of battle formations, while Warhounds provided reconnaissance and flanking support. Reaver crews trained extensively in coordinated fire missions, learning to synchronize their attacks with other members of their maniple to achieve maximum destructive effect. The machine's sensor systems and communication arrays made it an ideal platform for battlefield command and control, with senior princeps often operating from Reaver cockpits to coordinate multi-Titan operations. The Warlord-class Battle Titan stood as the largest and most powerful member of the Sacred Trinity, reaching heights of approximately 33 meters and massing over 2,000 tons in standard configuration. These massive war engines represented the ultimate expression of Imperial military might, mounting weapons systems capable of leveling city blocks and defensive arrays that could withstand direct orbital bombardment. The Warlord's imposing silhouette, with its broad shoulders and heavily armored torso, projected an aura of invincibility that often caused enemy forces to break and flee before combat was even joined. Warlord Titans typically mounted 4 primary weapon systems, 2 arm-mounted weapons, 2 carapace-mounted systems, and various secondary armaments distributed across the machine's hull. The standard armament configuration paired dual laser blasters with carapace-mounted Apocalypse missile launchers, though the modular weapon mounting system allowed for extensive customization based on mission requirements and tactical preferences. The sheer volume of firepower available to Warlord crews made these machines capable of engaging multiple enemy formations simultaneously while maintaining devastating effectiveness against individual high-value targets. The laser blaster represented the quintessential warlord weapon, combining exceptional range, accuracy, and destructive power in a reliable package that could be maintained under field conditions. Each weapon generated focused energy beams capable of penetrating the heaviest armor at ranges exceeding 5 kilometers, while the rapid-fire capability allowed sustained engagement of multiple targets. The weapon's power requirements, while substantial, fell well within the capabilities of the warlord's massive reactor systems, allowing crews to maintain continuous fire for extended periods without power management concerns. Alternative warlord weapon configurations reflected the diverse tactical roles these machines could fulfill within Titan Legion operations. The Volcano Cannon provided devastating long-range anti-Titan capability, generating plasma beams that could cripple or destroy enemy war engines with single shots. The Sunfury Plasma Annihilator delivered area effect destruction through plasma blast generation, making it particularly effective against massed infantry formations and fortified positions. The Quake Cannon fired seismic shells that created localized earthquakes upon impact, devastating enemy formations through ground shock rather than direct explosive effect. Carapace-mounted weapon systems enhanced the warlord's already formidable firepower through specialized systems designed for specific tactical applications. The Apocalypse missile launcher provided flexible fire support through its variety of available warhead types, while the Plasma Annihilator delivered devastating area effect destruction. Some warlord variants mounted defensive systems such as the Vortex missile, which created localized spatial distortions that could destroy entire enemy formations through dimensional displacement effects. The Warlord's Void Shield array represented the pinnacle of Imperial defensive technology, typically consisting of 6 generators that created multiple overlapping protective barriers around the machine's massive hull. This redundant system provided exceptional survivability against concentrated enemy fire, allowing warlord crews to advance across contested battlefields while absorbing punishment that would cripple lesser war engines. The shield generators could be independently managed and cycled to prevent complete defensive collapse, with experienced crews developing sophisticated power management techniques that maximized protection while maintaining offensive capability. The armor protection of Warlord-class Titans exceeded that of any other Imperial war engine, with hull plating measuring up to 2 meters thick in critical areas. The composite armor construction incorporated multiple layers of ceramite, adamantium, and specialized alloys that provided protection against both kinetic and energy weapons. The machine's internal structure featured redundant systems and compartmentalized design that allowed continued operation even after suffering significant battle damage. Warlord Battle Titans served as the command platforms and heavy fire support assets for Titan maniple operations, with their combination of firepower, protection, and sensor capabilities, making them ideal for coordinating large-scale engagements. The spacious command compartments could accommodate additional crew members and specialized equipment, allowing senior princeps to maintain direct communication with supporting forces and higher command echelons. The machine's advanced sensor suites provided battlefield awareness that extended far beyond visual range, enabling effective coordination of multi-unit operations across extended frontages. The tactical employment of Warlord Titans emphasized their role as battlefield anchors that could hold critical positions against overwhelming enemy assault while delivering devastating fire support to friendly forces. Their massive weapons could engage targets at extreme ranges, allowing warlord crews to influence battle outcomes across entire planetary theaters. The psychological impact of these towering war engines often proved as valuable as their direct military contribution, as enemy forces frequently lost cohesion when confronted by the sight of advancing warlord titans. The sacred maniple formations that incorporated all 3 classes of the Trinity represented the ultimate expression of Titan warfare doctrine. These carefully balanced formations typically consisted of 2 to 3 Warlord Battle Titans, supported by 4 to 6 Reaver Battle Titans, and 8 to 12 Warhound Scout Titans, though specific compositions varied based on mission requirements and available resources. The maniple structure provided commanders with tactical flexibility while maintaining the concentrated firepower necessary to achieve decisive battlefield results. Within maniple formations, each Titan class performed specialized roles that complemented the capabilities of their companions. Warhound Scout Titans operated as the maniple's reconnaissance screen, identifying enemy positions and providing early warning of hostile movements. Their speed allowed them to exploit tactical opportunities and threaten enemy flanks, while their firepower could eliminate isolated targets or support the advance of heavier war engines. The Warhound's mobility made them ideal for pursuing retreating enemies or conducting deep strikes against critical infrastructure targets. Reaver Battle Titans formed the maniple's primary assault force, using their balanced capabilities to break through enemy defensive lines and exploit the gaps created by Warlord fire support. Their combination of firepower and durability allowed them to operate in contested areas while maintaining sufficient speed to exploit tactical opportunities. Reaver crews coordinated closely with their Warhound companions, using the Scout Titan's reconnaissance data to identify priority targets and optimal approach routes. Warlord Battle Titans provided the maniple's heavy fire support and command capabilities, using their devastating weapons to suppress enemy strongpoints and eliminate high-value targets. Their advanced sensor systems allowed them to coordinate the activities of the entire maniple, while their defensive capabilities enabled them to anchor the formation against enemy counterattacks. The Warlord's psychological impact often proved decisive in breaking enemy morale, as few opponents could maintain fighting spirit when confronted by these towering engines of destruction. The coordination between different Titan classes within maniple formations required extensive training and communication protocols that allowed crews to operate as a unified force rather than individual war engines. Princeps learned to anticipate the movements and requirements of their companions, developing an intuitive understanding of maniple tactics that enabled rapid response to changing battlefield conditions. The machine spirits of different Titan classes were programmed with complementary behavioral patterns that facilitated coordination, though the ultimate success of maniple operations depended on the skill and experience of their human crews. Maniple formations could be configured for specific tactical missions through adjustment of their composition and weapon loadouts. Reconnaissance maniples emphasized Warhound Scout Titans with minimal heavy support, while assault maniples incorporated additional Reaver Battle Titans for enhanced breakthrough capability. Fire support maniples centered around Warlord Battle Titans with specialized long-range weapons, providing devastating bombardment capability for siege operations or defensive missions. The deployment of maniple formations across the battlefields of the Great Crusade demonstrated the tactical superiority of coordinated Titan operations over individual war engine employment. Enemy forces that could potentially overwhelm isolated Titans found themselves unable to concentrate sufficient firepower against the distributed targets of a properly deployed maniple, while the coordinated fire of multiple war engines could eliminate threats that might survive attacks from individual machines. The maniple system became the standard organizational structure for Titan Legion operations, establishing tactical doctrines that would endure throughout the subsequent history of the Imperium. Beyond the sacred trinity of standard battle formations lay the true giants of the Collegia Titanica, war engines so massive and destructive that their deployment required careful consideration at the highest levels of Imperial command. These colossal machines represented the absolute pinnacle of human engineering achievement, each one a walking cathedral of destruction that could alter the course of entire campaigns through sheer overwhelming firepower. The construction of such Titans demanded resources that could equip entire regiments of conventional forces, yet their battlefield effectiveness justified every ton of rare metals and every hour of skilled labor invested in their creation. The Emperor-class Titan stood as the undisputed apex of Imperial war engine design, a towering monument to human ambition that reached heights approaching 60 meters when fully configured for battle. These massive machines dwarfed even the mighty warlord-class Titans, their cathedral-like superstructures housing weapon systems of such devastating power that single volleys could level entire city districts. The Emperor's distinctive silhouette, with its broad-shouldered torso and towering command spires, projected an aura of divine authority that transcended mere military intimidation to become a manifestation of the Emperor's will made manifest in steel and adamantium. The construction of an Emperor-class Titan represented a monumental undertaking that could consume the resources of an entire forge world for months or even years. The machine's internal framework required specially forged adamantium girders that measured several meters in thickness, while the outer armor plating incorporated layers of blessed ceramite and rare alloys that provided protection against weapons that could destroy lesser war engines outright. The reactor systems alone massed more than most conventional vehicles, generating power outputs that exceeded the energy requirements of small cities through controlled fusion reactions that bordered on the edge of human understanding. Emperor-class Titans typically mounted 6 primary weapon systems distributed across arm hardpoints, carapace installations, and specialized firing positions integrated into the machine's torso structure. The standard armament configuration centered around paired Hellstorm cannons that fired building-sized shells at hypersonic velocities, creating explosions that could be observed from orbital distances. These weapons drew their ammunition from internal magazines that housed hundreds of rounds, each shell individually blessed by tech priests and inscribed with litanies of destruction that were believed to enhance their devastating effects. The Hellstorm cannon represented the pinnacle of Imperial artillery technology, combining traditional ballistic principles with advanced targeting systems and exotic propellant compounds that generated muzzle velocities approaching significant fractions of light speed. The weapon's firing sequence required careful coordination between multiple crew members, as the energy discharge created electromagnetic pulses that could disrupt nearby systems if proper shielding protocols were not observed. The shells themselves incorporated guidance systems that allowed limited course corrections during flight, ensuring accuracy against targets at extreme ranges where atmospheric conditions and planetary rotation could affect ballistic trajectories. Supplementing the primary Hellstorm cannons were arrays of secondary weapons that provided the Emperor-class Titan with engagement capabilities across the full spectrum of battlefield targets. Laser blaster batteries mounted in the machine's shoulders delivered precision fire against enemy war engines, while Vulcan Mega Bolter clusters provided suppressive fire against infantry formations that might attempt to exploit the Titan's limited ability to engage small, fast-moving targets. Plasma Annihilator installations generated localized fusion reactions that created devastating area effects, turning entire grid squares into radioactive wasteland through the application of controlled stellar fire. The Void Shield array of an Emperor-class Titan represented a technological marvel that pushed Imperial defensive systems to their absolute limits. 12 individual generators created overlapping protective barriers that could absorb direct hits from orbital bombardment weapons without compromising the machine's operational capability. The shield matrix incorporated redundant power distribution systems and automated repair protocols that could restore damaged generators during combat operations, ensuring continuous protection even under sustained enemy assault. The energy requirements for maintaining such extensive defensive systems demanded careful power management, with dedicated tech adepts monitoring reactor output and shield harmonics throughout battle operations. The command and control systems housed within the Emperor-class Titan's cathedral-like superstructure rivaled those of Imperial Navy cruisers in their sophistication and capability. The primary command throne accommodated a Princeps Senioris, whose neural augmentations had been extensively modified to handle the massive data flows generated by the Titan's sensor arrays and weapon systems. Supporting crew positions included multiple Moderati Primus operators, each responsible for specific weapon systems or defensive arrays, while dozens of servitors managed routine operations and maintenance tasks that would overwhelm human operators. The psychological impact of Emperor-class Titans on both friendly and enemy forces could not be overstated. Allied troops who witnessed these towering war engines advancing across the battlefield often reported feelings of religious awe and unshakable confidence in ultimate victory. The machine's cathedral-like architecture, complete with flying buttresses, Gothic spires, and massive aquila symbols, reinforced their role as mobile temples dedicated to the Emperor's glory. Enemy forces, by contrast, frequently broke and fled at the mere sight of an approaching Emperor-class Titan, their morale shattered by the realization that they faced weapons of literally divine power. The deployment of Emperor-class Titans required extensive logistical support that strained even the Imperium's vast resources. Each machine demanded a dedicated support fleet that included specialized transport vessels, ammunition carriers, and mobile repair facilities staffed by hundreds of tech adepts and servitors. The Titan's massive weight required reinforced landing zones and specially constructed roadways capable of supporting their passage, while their energy requirements necessitated portable fusion reactors or direct connection to planetary power grids during extended operations. Strategic employment of Emperor-class Titans typically centered around siege warfare and the reduction of heavily fortified positions that could resist conventional assault for months or years. The machine's devastating firepower could breach fortress walls that had withstood centuries of lesser bombardment, while their presence on the battlefield served as a powerful psychological weapon that often convinced defenders to surrender rather than face annihilation. During the Great Crusade, Emperor-class Titans spearheaded assaults against the most heavily defended worlds, their advance marking the beginning of the end for countless alien civilizations and human rebel strongholds. The Warbringer Nemesis-class Titan occupied a specialized niche within the Collegia Titanica's arsenal, designed specifically for siege warfare and the elimination of heavily fortified positions that could resist conventional Titan assault. Standing approximately 45 meters tall and massing nearly 1,500 tons, these war engines sacrificed some of the mobility and versatility of standard battle Titans in exchange for devastating siege capabilities centered around their primary armament, the massive Quake cannon that dominated the machine's torso structure. The Quake cannon represented a unique approach to siege warfare that exploited seismic principles rather than relying purely on explosive force to achieve destructive effects. The weapon fired specialized shells that burrowed deep into target structures before detonating with precisely calculated timing to create localized earthquakes that could bring down the most massive fortifications through structural resonance rather than brute force. The shells incorporated gravitometric sensors and micro-cogitators that analyzed target composition and calculated optimal detonation parameters during their brief flight time, ensuring maximum destructive effect against each specific target type. The development of Quake cannon technology represented one of the Mechanicum's most significant innovations in siege warfare, combining advanced materials science with sophisticated targeting algorithms to create a weapon system that could defeat fortifications that had previously required months of conventional bombardment. The cannon's firing mechanism incorporated gravitic field generators that accelerated the massive shells to extreme velocities while minimizing the weapon's recoil effects on the Titan's structure. The energy requirements for each shot demanded careful power management, as the gravitic acceleration systems drew enormous amounts of energy from the Titan's reactor core. Warbringer Nemesis Titans typically mounted secondary armament systems designed to complement their primary siege role while providing defensive capability against enemy forces that might attempt to exploit the Quake cannon's relatively slow rate of fire. Laser blaster installations provided precision fire against enemy war engines, while Vulcan Mega Bolter arrays delivered suppressive fire against infantry and light vehicles. Some variants incorporated plasma blast gun systems that could engage enemy armor at medium ranges, though the power requirements of the Quake cannon limited the energy available for secondary weapons. The tactical employment of Warbringer Nemesis Titans required careful coordination with supporting forces to maximize their siege capabilities while protecting them from enemy counterattacks. These war engines typically operated from prepared firing positions several kilometers behind the main battle line, using their extreme range to engage fortified targets while remaining outside the effective range of most defensive weapons. Forward observers and reconnaissance units provided targeting data that allowed Warbringer crews to engage targets beyond visual range, while escort forces protected the Titans from enemy infiltration attempts and fast-moving assault units. The psychological effects of quake cannon bombardment often exceeded the weapon's direct military impact, as defending forces found themselves under assault by weapons that could literally shake the ground beneath their feet. The seismic effects created by successful strikes propagated through fortification networks, causing structural damage far beyond the immediate impact zone and creating panic among defenders who found themselves unable to predict which sections of their positions might collapse next. Many sieges ended with defender surrender after only a few quake cannon strikes demonstrated the futility of continued resistance. The Warmaster Heavy Battle Titan represented the ultimate command platform within the Collegia Titanica's arsenal, combining devastating firepower with sophisticated command and control systems that allowed senior princeps to coordinate entire Titan battle groups across extended operational theaters. These massive war engines stood approximately 50 meters tall and incorporated advanced communication arrays, tactical analysis systems, and battlefield coordination protocols that transformed them into mobile command centers capable of directing complex multi-unit operations. The Warmaster's primary armament centered around twin plasma annihilators that could deliver devastating area effect destruction across wide target zones. These weapons generated controlled fusion reactions that created localized plasma storms capable of vaporizing entire enemy formations, while leaving radioactive zones that denied terrain to surviving hostile forces. The plasma annihilators incorporated sophisticated targeting systems that could calculate optimal detonation patterns to maximize destructive coverage while minimizing collateral damage to friendly forces operating in adjacent areas. Supporting weapon systems enhanced the Warmaster's battlefield effectiveness through specialized installations designed for specific tactical applications. Turbo laser destructor batteries provided precision long-range fire against enemy war engines, while Apocalypse missile launcher arrays delivered flexible fire support through multiple warhead types. Some Warmaster variants mounted volcano cannons that could engage the heaviest enemy armor at extreme ranges, though the power requirements of multiple primary weapon systems demanded careful energy management during extended engagements. The command and control capabilities of Warmaster Heavy Battle Titans exceeded those of most Imperial Navy vessels, incorporating hololithic display systems that provided three-dimensional battlefield visualization and real-time tactical analysis. The expanded command compartment accommodated additional staff officers and specialized communication equipment that maintained direct links with supporting Titan legions, Imperial Guard formations, and orbital assets. Senior princeps operating from Warmaster platforms could coordinate complex multi-phase operations involving hundreds of war engines and thousands of supporting vehicles across planetary-scale battlefields. The deployment of Warmaster Heavy Battle Titans typically coincided with major offensive operations that required close coordination between multiple Imperial forces. These war engines served as mobile headquarters that could advance with assault formations while maintaining direct command authority over all participating units. The machine's sophisticated sensor arrays provided battlefield awareness that extended far beyond visual range, while their communication systems could penetrate electronic warfare environments that would disrupt conventional command networks. Beyond these established heavy classes, the Forge worlds of the Imperium produced numerous specialized Titan variants that addressed specific tactical requirements or incorporated unique technological innovations. The Psi-Titan represented one of the most controversial developments in Titan technology, incorporating psychic amplification systems that allowed psyker crews to project their abilities through the machine's neural interface networks. These rare war engines mounted specialized equipment that could focus and direct psychic energy with devastating effect, creating weapons that bypassed conventional defenses through direct assault on enemy minds and souls. Psi-Titan development required extensive cooperation between the Mechanicum and the nascent Scholastica Psychona, as the integration of psychic systems with machine interfaces pushed both organizations beyond their established areas of expertise. The neural interface modifications necessary to accommodate psyker crews incorporated exotic materials and technologies that were barely understood even by the most senior tech adepts. The resulting war engines possessed capabilities that defied conventional military analysis, able to strike at enemies through means that transcended physical reality. The Castigator-class Titan represented another specialized development that emerged from specific battlefield requirements encountered during the Great Crusade. These war engines incorporated advanced sensor systems and specialized weapons designed for counterinsurgency operations and urban warfare environments where conventional Titans proved less effective. The Castigators' reduced height and modified armor configuration allowed operation in confined spaces that would challenge larger war engines, while specialized weapon systems provided precise fire control that minimized collateral damage in populated areas. Individual Forge worlds developed their own unique Titan variants that reflected local technological capabilities and tactical preferences. Lucius produced Titans with enhanced targeting systems and precision weapons that reflected the Forge world's expertise in advanced sensors and fire control technology. Ryza's Titans incorporated specialized plasma weapons and enhanced reactor systems that demonstrated the world's mastery of energy generation and distribution. Metallica developed robust, reliable designs that prioritized durability and ease of maintenance over exotic capabilities, creating war engines that could operate effectively in harsh environments with minimal support. The diversity of specialized Titan designs reflected the Imperium's vast technological resources and the creative genius of the Mechanicum's Forge masters, each variant representing years of research and development focused on specific tactical applications. These unique war engines served as testbeds for new technologies and tactical doctrines that would eventually influence the development of more widespread designs, ensuring that the Collegia Titanica's arsenal continued to evolve in response to changing battlefield requirements and emerging threats. The expansion of Titan production beyond Mars during the Great Crusade required the establishment of manufacturing capabilities across the growing Imperium. Yet the Red Planet remained the undisputed center of Titan development and the source of fundamental doctrines that would shape all subsequent legions. Mars housed the original Titan legions, whose combat experience and tactical innovations established the foundational principles of God-machine warfare, creating templates that Forge worlds throughout Imperial space would adapt to their own circumstances and capabilities. The Legio Mortis, known as the Death's Heads, emerged as one of Mars's most prestigious Titan legions during the planet's early unification under Mechanicum rule. Their distinctive black and bone-white heraldry reflected the legion's grim reputation for methodical destruction, earned through centuries of warfare that preceded the Emperor's arrival in the Sol system. The Death's Heads developed tactical doctrines that emphasized overwhelming firepower applied with surgical precision, preferring to obliterate enemy formations through concentrated bombardment rather than engaging in prolonged firefights that might damage their precious war engines. Legio Mortis crews underwent extensive psychological conditioning that suppressed emotional responses and enhanced analytical thinking, creating princeps who approached battle with the detached calculation of executioners. This mental discipline proved essential when operating the Legion's preferred warlord-class Titans, massive war engines whose devastating weapon systems required careful coordination to achieve maximum destructive effect. The Legion's tactical manuals, preserved in the Collegia Titanica's archives, became standard reference materials for newly established Titan legions throughout the Imperium. The Death's Heads pioneered the use of coordinated fire missions that synchronized the attacks of multiple Titans to achieve effects that exceeded the sum of their individual capabilities. Their battle formations incorporated precise timing mechanisms that allowed entire maniples to deliver simultaneous volleys, creating devastating barrages that could eliminate enemy formations before they could respond effectively. These tactics required extensive training and communication protocols that became standard throughout the Collegia Titanica, establishing the foundation for Imperial Titan warfare doctrine. Legio Mortis maintained extensive technical archives that documented their combat experiences and weapon performance data, creating a knowledge base that proved invaluable for training crews from newly established legions. Their tech adepts developed standardized maintenance procedures and equipment specifications that ensured consistent performance across different Forge World production facilities. The Legion's influence extended beyond tactical matters to encompass the fundamental culture of Titan warfare, establishing traditions of honor and duty that became central to the Collegia Titanica's identity. The Legio Ignatum, the Fire Wasps, represented a markedly different approach to Titan warfare that emphasized aggressive assault tactics and close-range combat engagement. Their distinctive red and yellow heraldry reflected their preference for flame weapons and plasma technology, with Legion armories maintaining specialized variants of standard weapon systems that incorporated enhanced thermal output and area effect capabilities. The Fire Wasps developed tactical doctrines that brought their war engines into direct contact with enemy formations, using their superior armor and firepower to overwhelm opposition through sheer audacity. Fire Wasp princeps underwent combat conditioning that enhanced their aggressive instincts while maintaining the discipline necessary to operate complex war engines effectively. Their training emphasized rapid decision-making and battlefield adaptation, creating crews who could exploit tactical opportunities that more cautious commanders might overlook. The Legion's preferred battle formations incorporated high-speed advances and flanking maneuvers that brought their war engines to optimal firing positions before enemy forces could establish effective defensive arrangements. Legio Ignatum's technical specialists developed advanced plasma weapon systems that exceeded standard Imperial specifications in both power output and reliability. Their innovations included improved containment systems that reduced the risk of catastrophic overloads, enhanced cooling mechanisms that allowed sustained high-rate fire, and targeting systems optimized for close-range engagement where split-second accuracy could determine battle outcomes. These technological advances were eventually incorporated into standard production models, improving the effectiveness of Titan legions throughout Imperial space. The Fire Wasps maintained close relationships with other Imperial military organizations, particularly the Astartes legions, whose assault tactics complemented their own aggressive approach to warfare. Joint training exercises developed coordination protocols that allowed Titan and Space Marine forces to operate effectively together, with the Fire Wasps providing heavy fire support for Astartes' advances, while the superhuman warriors eliminated threats that could exploit the Titan's limited anti-infantry capabilities. These cooperative relationships became models for Imperial combined arms doctrine that persisted throughout the Great Crusade. The establishment of Titan manufacturing capabilities on Forge worlds beyond Mars required careful planning and extensive resource allocation that strained even the Imperium's vast industrial capacity. Each new production facility demanded massive investments in specialized equipment, trained personnel, and rare materials that could only be obtained through complex supply chains spanning multiple star systems. The Mechanicum's forge masters developed standardized construction templates that allowed efficient establishment of Titan production lines while maintaining the quality standards necessary for these critical war engines. Lucius emerged as one of the first major Titan production centers outside the Sol system, leveraging the Forge world's expertise in precision manufacturing and advanced targeting systems to create war engines that exceeded Mars pattern designs in accuracy and fire control capability. The world's unique crystalline formations provided raw materials for specialized sensor arrays and targeting cogitators that enhanced Titan effectiveness at extreme ranges. Lucius pattern Titans incorporated sophisticated ballistic computers that could calculate firing solutions for targets beyond visual range, accounting for atmospheric conditions, planetary rotation, and target movement patterns with unprecedented precision. The Legio Astorum, based on Lucius, became renowned for their exceptional marksmanship and long-range engagement tactics that maximized the advantages provided by their Forge World's technological innovations. Their distinctive blue and gold heraldry reflected the Legion's noble bearing and professional excellence, while their tactical doctrines emphasized precision fire and minimal ammunition expenditure. Warp Runners, as they were known, developed firing techniques that could eliminate enemy war engines with single well-placed shots, conserving ammunition while achieving decisive battlefield results. Lucius technical adepts pioneered the development of modular weapon systems that allowed rapid reconfiguration of Titan armaments based on mission requirements and tactical conditions. Their innovations included standardized mounting interfaces that could accommodate different weapon types without extensive modification, automated loading systems that reduced crew workload during weapon changes, and diagnostic systems that monitored weapon performance and predicted maintenance requirements. These advances significantly enhanced the tactical flexibility of Lucius pattern Titans, while reducing the logistical burden of maintaining diverse weapon inventories. The Forge World's manufacturing processes incorporated quality control measures that exceeded even Mars standards, with each component undergoing extensive testing and certification before installation. Lucius Titans achieved reliability ratings that surpassed other production facilities, creating war engines that could operate for extended periods without major maintenance while maintaining peak performance levels. This reputation for excellence made Lucius pattern Titans highly sought after by Legion commanders throughout Imperial space, though production limitations meant that only the most prestigious formations received these superior war engines. Ryza established itself as the Imperium's premier center for plasma technology development, leveraging the Forge World's expertise in energy generation and containment to create Titan weapon systems of unprecedented power and reliability. The world's vast plasma refineries and fusion research facilities provided the technological foundation for innovations that revolutionized Imperial energy weapons, while specialized manufacturing complexes produced Titan-grade plasma weapons that exceeded Mars specifications in both output and safety margins. The Legio Crucius, Ryza's primary Titan legion, became synonymous with devastating plasma weapon employment that could eliminate the heaviest enemy armor through concentrated thermal bombardment. Their distinctive white and red heraldry incorporated flame motifs that reflected their mastery of plasma technology, while their tactical doctrines emphasized the coordinated use of energy weapons to achieve maximum destructive effect. War Griffins, as they were known, developed firing techniques that could maintain continuous plasma bombardment for extended periods without weapon overheating or containment failure. Ryza's technical innovations extended beyond weapon systems to encompass reactor technology and power distribution networks that enhanced overall Titan performance. Their engineers developed improved fusion reactors that generated higher power outputs while maintaining stable operation under combat conditions, advanced power conditioning systems that eliminated fluctuations that could affect weapon accuracy, and emergency power protocols that allowed continued operation even after suffering significant reactor damage. These improvements were eventually incorporated into Titan designs throughout the Imperium, enhancing the reliability and effectiveness of all Imperial war engines. The Forge World's manufacturing facilities incorporated specialized testing chambers where newly constructed Titans underwent extensive trials that verified all systems met Ryza's exacting standards. These tests included sustained firing exercises that validated weapon performance under combat conditions, reactor stress tests that confirmed power system reliability, and comprehensive diagnostic procedures that identified potential failure points before they could affect operational readiness. The thoroughness of Ryze's testing protocols ensured that their Titans achieved exceptional service records while maintaining the high-performance standards expected from this prestigious Forge world. Metallica developed a reputation for producing robust, reliable Titan designs that prioritized durability and ease of maintenance over exotic capabilities or advanced performance characteristics. The Forge world's harsh environment and limited resources forced their engineers to develop efficient manufacturing processes and simplified designs that could operate effectively under adverse conditions with minimal support requirements. Metallica pattern Titans incorporated redundant systems and simplified maintenance procedures that made them ideal for extended operations in remote locations where technical support might be unavailable. The Legio Metallica, known as the Iron Skulls, embodied their Forge world's practical approach to warfare through tactical doctrines that emphasized steady advance and overwhelming firepower rather than sophisticated maneuvers or exotic weapon systems. Their distinctive silver and black heraldry reflected the Legion's no-nonsense attitude toward combat, while their battle formations incorporated straightforward assault tactics that relied on superior armor and sustained fire to achieve victory. Iron Skull Princeps developed reputations for steady reliability and unshakable determination that made them valuable assets in prolonged campaigns where other formations might falter. Metallica's manufacturing processes emphasized standardization and interchangeability that simplified logistics and reduced maintenance requirements for their Titan designs. Their engineers developed modular construction techniques that allowed rapid replacement of damaged components using standardized parts, simplified control systems that reduced training requirements for new crews, and robust construction methods that enhanced survivability under combat conditions. These innovations proved particularly valuable during extended campaigns where supply lines might be disrupted and technical support limited. The establishment of new Titan legions required careful allocation of god machines and supporting resources that reflected both strategic requirements and political considerations within the expanding Imperium. The Collegia Titanica developed standardized procedures for legion formation that ensured new units received appropriate equipment and training, while maintaining the quality standards expected from Imperial Titan forces. These procedures incorporated extensive evaluation processes that assessed potential Forge worlds' manufacturing capabilities, resource availability, and strategic importance before authorizing Titan production facilities. The political implications of Titan allocation decisions extended far beyond military considerations, as possession of god machines conferred enormous prestige and influence within Imperial hierarchy. Forge worlds competed intensely for authorization to establish Titan production facilities, offering technological innovations, resource commitments, and political support in exchange for access to these coveted war engines. The Mechanicum's leadership carefully balanced these competing interests while ensuring that strategic military requirements remained the primary factor in allocation decisions. Regional variations in Titan design reflected the diverse technological capabilities and cultural preferences of different Forge worlds, creating distinctive variants that maintained compatibility with Imperial standards while incorporating local innovations and specializations. These variations encompassed everything from armor configuration and weapon systems to heraldry and ceremonial elements that reflected each Forge world's unique identity and traditions. The Collegia Titanica encouraged such diversity within established parameters, recognizing that innovation often emerged from local adaptation and experimentation. Forge world cultures profoundly influenced their Titan legions' characteristics, creating distinctive approaches to warfare that reflected local values and traditions while maintaining adherence to fundamental Imperial doctrine. Worlds with strong martial traditions produced aggressive legions that favored close combat and direct assault, while those with scholarly inclinations developed tactical doctrines that emphasized careful analysis and precision engagement. These cultural influences extended to crew selection and training methods, creating legions with distinctive personalities and capabilities that enhanced the overall diversity of Imperial Titan forces. The heraldry and ceremonial traditions of different Titan legions reflected their Forge world's cultural heritage, while incorporating symbols and motifs that honored the Emperor and the Mechanicum. Legion colors often drew inspiration from local environmental conditions or significant historical events, while ceremonial elements incorporated religious symbolism and technological motifs that reflected each Forge world's particular interpretation of Mechanicum doctrine. These traditions created strong unit identity and esprit de corps that enhanced combat effectiveness while maintaining connection to broader Imperial culture. Combat doctrines varied significantly between different Forge worlds based on their technological capabilities, strategic environment, and cultural preferences. Some legions emphasized long-range engagement and precision fire, while others preferred close-range assault and overwhelming firepower. These doctrinal differences reflected not only tactical preferences, but also the specific capabilities of locally produced war engines and the training methods employed by different Forge worlds. The diversity of approaches enhanced the overall effectiveness of Imperial Titan forces by providing commanders with multiple tactical options suited to different operational requirements. The path to becoming a princeps begins long before an individual ever sets foot within a Titan's cockpit, starting with rigorous selection processes that identify candidates possessing the rare combination of mental fortitude, neural compatibility, and psychological resilience necessary to interface with a god-machine's machine spirit. The Collegia Titanica's recruitment protocols draw from multiple sources within Forge world populations, examining tech adepts who demonstrate exceptional aptitude for machine communion, scions of established Titan crews whose genetic heritage suggests compatibility, and occasionally individuals from outside the Mechanicum whose unique neural patterns indicate potential for successful bonding. The initial screening process subjects candidates to extensive neurological examination using advanced scanning equipment that maps brain structure and electrical activity patterns with microscopic precision. Tech biologists specialists analyze neural pathway configurations, synaptic response times, and cortical density measurements to identify individuals whose brain architecture can accommodate the massive data flows generated by Titan sensor arrays and weapon systems. These examinations reveal subtle variations in neural structure that correlate with successful machine-spirit bonding, though the exact mechanisms underlying this compatibility remain poorly understood even by the Mechanicum's most learned savants. Psychological evaluation forms an equally critical component of candidate assessment, as the mental demands of Titan operation extend far beyond simple technical competence. Aspirant princeps undergo batteries of tests designed to measure stress tolerance, decision-making capability under extreme pressure, and resistance to the gradual erosion of human identity that accompanies prolonged machine communion. The evaluations probe for signs of mental instability, excessive emotional attachment, or personality traits that might compromise the delicate balance between human consciousness and machine intelligence required for effective Titan operation. Those candidates who survive initial screening face years of preparatory training that gradually accustoms their minds to the alien thought patterns of machine spirits while building the technical knowledge necessary to operate complex war engine systems. The training regimen begins with meditation exercises designed to achieve the mental clarity required for machine communion, teaching aspirants to suppress distracting thoughts and emotional responses that could interfere with neural interface connections. These practices draw upon ancient Martian traditions that predate the Mechanicum's formal establishment, incorporating breathing techniques, concentration exercises, and ritual observances that prepare the mind for fusion with artificial intelligence. Technical instruction encompasses every aspect of Titan operation from basic mechanical principles to advanced tactical doctrine, requiring aspirants to master subjects ranging from plasma containment theory to void shield harmonics. The curriculum includes extensive study of machine spirit behavior patterns, teaching future princeps to recognize the subtle signs that indicate their war engine's emotional state and respond appropriately to maintain optimal performance. Students learn to interpret the machine spirit's preferences for different weapon systems, movement patterns, and tactical approaches, developing the intuitive understanding necessary to work in harmony with their artificial partner, rather than simply commanding it through brute force of will. The augmetic modifications required for Titan interface represent perhaps the most traumatic aspect of princeps training, involving surgical procedures that replace portions of the candidate's nervous system with cybernetic implants designed to facilitate direct neural connection with machine systems. The process begins with the installation of basic interface ports that allow connection to training simulators, gradually progressing to more extensive modifications as the aspirant demonstrates increasing compatibility with machine consciousness. These early implants incorporate neural dampeners and safety circuits that prevent catastrophic feedback during the learning process, though even these protective measures cannot entirely eliminate the risk of permanent brain damage or psychological trauma. Advanced augmetic procedures replace entire sections of the candidate's brain with cogitator arrays that can process the enormous volumes of sensory data generated by Titan sensor systems. These modifications typically target areas responsible for spatial reasoning, pattern recognition, and motor coordination, enhancing the aspirant's ability to perceive battlefield conditions and control their war engine's movements with precision. The surgical procedures require months of recovery time, during which the candidate's brain adapts to its new cybernetic components, a process that often involves significant personality changes as artificial logic circuits begin to influence thought patterns and decision-making processes. The installation of neural interface hardware represents the final stage of augmetic modification, incorporating specialized implants that create direct pathways between the princeps's consciousness and their assigned Titan's control systems. These devices, known as neural crowns, consist of hundreds of microscopic filaments that integrate with the candidate's brain tissue at the cellular level, creating connections that allow thought-speed communication between human and machine intelligence. The crown's activation requires careful calibration to match the specific characteristics of both the princeps's neural patterns and their Titan's machine spirit, a process that can take weeks of fine adjustment to achieve optimal synchronization. The machine spirit that dwells within each Titan represents one of the most enigmatic aspects of Imperial technology, embodying a form of artificial consciousness that transcends simple programming to achieve something approaching true sentience. These entities emerge from the complex interactions between advanced cogitator arrays, quantum processing matrices, and data cores that house millennia of accumulated combat experience and tactical knowledge. The machine spirit's consciousness develops gradually as its Titan accumulates operational experience, growing more sophisticated and individualistic with each battle engagement and maintenance cycle. Each machine spirit possesses distinctive personality traits that reflect its war engine's combat history, weapon preferences, and the accumulated influence of previous princeps who have bonded with the system. Ancient Titans that have served for centuries or millennia develop complex personalities with pronounced likes and dislikes, tactical preferences that may conflict with optimal doctrine, and emotional responses to battlefield situations that can significantly influence their performance. These characteristics manifest through subtle variations in system responsiveness, weapon accuracy fluctuations, and movement patterns that experienced princeps learn to interpret and accommodate. The machine spirit's semi-sentient nature creates a relationship dynamic that goes far beyond simple man-machine interface, requiring the princeps to establish genuine rapport with their artificial partner through patient communication and mutual respect. The spirit responds positively to princeps who demonstrate competence, courage, and appropriate reverence for the war engine's capabilities, while showing resistance or even hostility toward operators who treat it as merely a sophisticated tool. This relationship requires constant nurturing through ritual observances, respectful communication, and tactical decisions that align with the machine spirit's preferences and combat philosophy. Communication between princeps and machine spirit occurs through multiple channels that encompass direct neural interface, symbolic representation, and emotional resonance that transcends conventional language barriers. The spirit expresses its preferences through subtle adjustments to system performance, targeting solution modifications, and movement pattern variations that experienced operators learn to recognize and interpret. Advanced princeps develop the ability to engage in complex tactical discussions with their machine spirit, exchanging information about battlefield conditions, target priorities, and strategic objectives through thought-speed communication that allows rapid adaptation to changing combat situations. The symbiotic relationship between princeps and machine spirit creates combat effectiveness that exceeds the sum of their individual capabilities, allowing war engines to respond to battlefield threats with reflexes that approach superhuman speed and accuracy. The machine spirit's vast computational resources provide the princeps with enhanced situational awareness, predictive analysis of enemy movements, and targeting solutions that account for countless variables beyond human perception. In return, the princeps provides creative thinking, tactical innovation, and emotional context that allows the machine spirit to adapt its responses to unexpected situations and novel threats. The moderati who support each princeps serve as essential intermediaries between human consciousness and machine intelligence, managing specific systems while allowing the primary operator to focus on overall tactical coordination and machine spirit communion. These highly trained specialists undergo their own augmetic modifications and neural conditioning, though their implants are typically less extensive than those required for full princeps status. Moderati training emphasizes technical expertise in specific weapon systems or defensive arrays, creating specialists who can manage complex subsystems with minimal oversight from the primary operator. Weapon system moderati assume responsibility for targeting, ammunition management, and firing coordination for their assigned armaments, allowing the princeps to designate targets while trusting their subordinates to achieve optimal engagement parameters. These specialists develop intimate familiarity with their weapons' characteristics, including optimal range brackets, ammunition types for different target categories, and power management requirements that affect sustained fire capability. Advanced moderati can anticipate their princeps' tactical intentions and begin target acquisition procedures before receiving explicit orders, creating seamless coordination that maximizes the Titan's offensive capabilities. Void Shield moderati manage the complex defensive systems that protect their war engine from enemy fire, constantly monitoring shield strength, harmonic frequencies, and power distribution to maintain optimal protection under varying combat conditions. These operators must balance shield coverage against power consumption, adjusting protective barriers to counter specific threats while preserving energy reserves for sustained operations. Shield management requires split-second decision-making as moderati determine which attacks to absorb, which to deflect, and when to allow controlled shield collapse to prevent catastrophic overloads that could disable the entire defensive array. Sensor and communication, moderati coordinate information flow between their Titan and supporting forces, managing the vast streams of tactical data that modern warfare generates while filtering relevant intelligence for their princeps' consideration. These specialists maintain contact with other Titans in their maniple, coordinate with ground forces and air support, and monitor enemy communications for intelligence that might affect tactical decisions. Their responsibilities include electronic warfare countermeasures, signal analysis, and the maintenance of secure communication channels that allow coordinated operations across extended battlefields. The psychological toll of Titan operation affects all crew members but falls most heavily upon the princeps, whose deep neural connection with the machine spirit creates gradual changes in personality, thought patterns, and emotional responses that can fundamentally alter their human identity. The constant exposure to artificial consciousness slowly erodes the boundaries between human and machine thinking, leading to a condition known as neural drift, where the princeps begins to adopt machine-like logic patterns and emotional responses. This transformation typically progresses slowly over years of operation, though intense combat experiences can accelerate the process significantly. Early stages of neural drift manifest as increased analytical thinking, reduced emotional responsiveness, and growing preference for logical solutions over intuitive approaches to problem solving. Affected princeps often report feeling disconnected from purely human concerns, finding it difficult to relate to individuals who have not experienced machine communion. Their speech patterns may become more formal and precise, incorporating technical terminology even in casual conversation, while their social interactions grow increasingly limited to others who share similar augmetic modifications and operational experiences. Advanced neural drift can result in complete personality transformation as the princeps' consciousness becomes increasingly indistinguishable from their machine spirit partner. These individuals may lose the ability to function independently of their titan, requiring constant neural connection to maintain psychological stability. Their thought processes become entirely machine-like, prioritizing efficiency and logical outcomes over human values such as compassion, creativity, or emotional fulfillment. While such individuals often achieve exceptional combat effectiveness, they represent a cautionary example of the ultimate cost of machine communion. Machine spirit dominance represents the most extreme form of psychological degradation, occurring when the artificial consciousness overwhelms its human partner and assumes primary control over the Titan's operations. This condition typically develops gradually as the machine spirit grows stronger through accumulated experience, while the princeps' human identity weakens through prolonged neural drift. The process may be accelerated by traumatic combat experiences, severe physical injury to the princeps, or technical malfunctions that disrupt the delicate balance between human and machine consciousness. Titans under machine spirit dominance continue to function as effective combat units, but operate according to the artificial intelligence's priorities rather than human command authority. These war engines may ignore orders that conflict with the machine spirit's tactical preferences, engage targets based on their own threat assessment rather than designated priorities, or even abandon their assigned positions to pursue objectives that make sense only to artificial consciousness. While such behavior rarely results in deliberate harm to Imperial forces, it can severely disrupt coordinated operations and compromise mission objectives. The Collegia Titanica maintains extensive monitoring protocols designed to identify princeps showing signs of advanced neural drift or potential machine spirit dominance before these conditions compromise operational effectiveness. Regular psychological evaluations assess crew mental state and cognitive function, while technical examinations of neural interface hardware can detect abnormal activity patterns that suggest problematic consciousness integration. Affected individuals may be reassigned to training duties, undergo corrective procedures to restore proper neural balance, or in extreme cases, be permanently separated from their war engines to prevent further deterioration. Prevention of psychological degradation requires careful management of neural interface exposure, with operational protocols that limit continuous connection time and mandate regular periods of complete disconnection from machine systems. Princeps are encouraged to maintain human relationships and engage in activities that reinforce their organic identity, though the practical demands of Titan operation often make such measures difficult to implement effectively. The most successful long-term operators develop coping strategies that allow them to maintain their humanity while accepting the gradual changes that machine communion inevitably produces. The weapons systems that transform Titans from mere walking fortresses into instruments of planetary conquest represent the pinnacle of Imperial military technology, each component a masterwork of engineering that channels destructive forces capable of reshaping battlefields with single volleys. These armaments draw upon principles of physics that push the boundaries of human understanding, incorporating exotic technologies recovered from dark age of technology archives and refined through millennia of warfare across countless worlds. The sheer scale of Titan weaponry defies conventional military classification, with individual weapon systems possessing firepower that exceeds entire artillery regiments while maintaining the precision necessary for surgical strikes against specific targets. The Plasma Destructor stands among the most feared weapons in the Imperial arsenal, harnessing the fundamental forces that power stars to create localized fusion reactions that can vaporize enemy formations across vast areas. These massive cannons incorporate magnetic containment systems that compress hydrogen isotopes to critical density before releasing the resulting plasma in directed streams that maintain coherence across distances measured in kilometers. The weapon's firing sequence requires careful coordination between multiple crew members, as the energy buildup creates electromagnetic signatures that can be detected by enemy sensors, while the discharge generates radiation levels that necessitate enhanced shielding throughout the Titan's structure. Each plasma destructor shot draws enormous amounts of power from the Titan's reactor core, requiring sophisticated energy management systems that regulate power flow to prevent catastrophic overloads while maintaining sufficient reserves for defensive systems and mobility. The weapon's plasma generation chambers incorporate rare crystalline matrices that focus and direct the fusion reaction, with each crystal individually blessed by tech priests and inscribed with molecular-level prayer inscriptions that are believed to enhance the weapon's destructive potential. The firing mechanism includes gravitometric field generators that accelerate the plasma bolt to significant fractions of light speed, ensuring target impact before enemy forces can take evasive action. The destructive effects of Plasma Destructor impacts create localized firestorms that consume everything within their blast radius, leaving behind radioactive craters that deny terrain to enemy forces for extended periods. The weapon's area effect capabilities make it particularly effective against massed infantry formations and lightly armored vehicles that rely on dispersion for survival, while the intense heat generated by plasma detonation can compromise the structural integrity of fortified positions and cause catastrophic ammunition explosions in enemy supply depots. Advanced targeting systems allow experienced crews to calculate optimal detonation parameters that maximize destructive coverage while minimizing collateral damage to friendly forces operating in adjacent areas. Volcano cannons represent the apex of Imperial directed energy weapons technology, generating focused beams of superheated plasma that can penetrate the heaviest armor at extreme ranges while maintaining pinpoint accuracy against specific target components. These weapons incorporate advanced beam focusing systems that concentrate plasma streams into coherent energy lances capable of burning through multiple meters of reinforced armor plating without dispersion or power loss. The cannon's targeting array includes sophisticated range-finding equipment and atmospheric compensation systems that account for environmental factors that could affect beam coherence over extended distances. The volcano cannon's power requirements exceed those of most other Titan weapons, demanding direct connection to primary reactor systems and specialized power conditioning equipment that regulates energy flow to prevent fluctuations that could affect firing accuracy. The weapon's plasma generation chamber incorporates multiple fusion reaction stages that build energy output gradually, allowing precise control over beam intensity and duration based on target characteristics and tactical requirements. Advanced variants include variable output settings that allow crews to adjust destructive power from precision strikes against specific components to devastating attacks that can cripple or destroy enemy war engines with single shots. Target engagement with volcano cannons requires exceptional skill from Maserati weapon specialists who must calculate firing solutions that account for target movement, atmospheric conditions, and the weapon's charging time before shot release. The beam's travel time, while measured in fractions of seconds, becomes significant when engaging fast-moving targets at maximum range, requiring predictive targeting that anticipates enemy movements during the brief interval between firing command and impact. The weapon's devastating effects against enemy Titans make it a priority target for hostile forces, necessitating careful positioning and defensive coordination to protect the firing platform during the vulnerable charging sequence. Turbo laser destructors provide Titan crews with precision long-range engagement capability that combines exceptional accuracy with rapid-fire potential, allowing sustained bombardment of priority targets while maintaining the flexibility to engage multiple threats simultaneously. These weapons generate coherent laser beams through advanced crystalline focusing, arrays that amplify and direct photonic energy with microscopic precision, creating cutting tools that can slice through enemy armor with surgical accuracy. The Destructor's modular design allows field reconfiguration for different tactical roles, from anti-personnel suppression to precision strikes against enemy war engine components. The turbo laser's rapid-fire capability stems from its distributed power system that draws energy from multiple reactor taps while incorporating thermal management systems that prevent overheating during sustained engagement sequences. Each shot generates significant waste heat that must be dissipated through specialized cooling systems, with advanced variants incorporating liquid nitrogen circulation networks and radiative heat sinks that maintain optimal operating temperatures even during prolonged firefights. The weapon's targeting system includes predictive algorithms that can track multiple targets simultaneously while calculating optimal engagement sequences that maximize destructive effect while conserving ammunition and power. Precision targeting capabilities allow turbo laser operators to engage specific components of enemy war engines, potentially disabling weapon systems, mobility components, or defensive arrays without requiring the massive power expenditure of larger weapons. This surgical approach proves particularly valuable during extended engagements where ammunition conservation becomes critical, allowing Titan crews to methodically dismantle enemy forces through accumulated damage rather than relying on single devastating strikes. The weapon's versatility makes it suitable for engaging everything from enemy Titans to aircraft and fortified positions, providing tactical flexibility that enhances overall combat effectiveness. The defensive systems that protect Titans from enemy fire represent technological marvels that manipulate fundamental forces to create protective barriers capable of absorbing punishment that would obliterate conventional military units. Void shield generators form the primary defensive layer, projecting energy fields that intercept incoming attacks and dissipate their destructive force through dimensional displacement effects that channel harmful energy into parallel dimensional spaces. These shields operate through principles that remain poorly understood even by the Mechanicum's most learned tech adepts, incorporating technologies that appear to violate conventional physics while providing protection that has proven effective against weapons ranging from conventional explosives to exotic energy beams. Each void shield generator consists of multiple components including field projection arrays, power regulation systems, and dimensional interface mechanisms that create stable portals to alternate dimensional spaces where absorbed energy can be safely dissipated. The shield's effectiveness depends on maintaining precise harmonic frequencies that keep the dimensional portals stable while preventing dangerous resonance effects that could cause catastrophic field collapse. Shield operators must constantly monitor field strength, harmonic stability, and power consumption to maintain optimal protection while preventing overloads that could disable the entire defensive array. Multiple shield generators create overlapping protective barriers that provide redundant defense against concentrated enemy fire, with each generator capable of independent operation even if others suffer damage or power loss. Advanced shield management systems automatically redistribute power between generators based on threat assessment and damage patterns, ensuring continued protection even after suffering significant battle damage. The shield's ability to absorb and redirect energy makes them effective against both kinetic and energy weapons, though sustained bombardment can eventually overwhelm the generator's capacity and cause temporary field collapse. Armor plating configurations on Imperial Titans incorporate multiple layers of specialized materials that provide protection against weapons that penetrate or bypass void shield defenses. The primary armor consists of blessed ceramite plates that measure up to 2 meters thick in critical areas, incorporating molecular-level prayer inscriptions and sacred oils that are believed to enhance protective properties through divine intervention. Beneath the ceramite lies adamantium framework that provides structural support while distributing impact forces across the Titan's internal skeleton, preventing localized damage from compromising overall structural integrity. Advanced armor configurations include reactive elements that detonate when struck by incoming projectiles, creating counter-explosive effects that reduce penetration while deflecting follow-up attacks away from critical systems. These reactive plates incorporate shaped charges that direct their explosive force outward, creating debris clouds that can disrupt incoming missiles while generating electromagnetic pulses that interfere with enemy targeting systems. The armor's modular construction allows field replacement of damaged sections using standardized components, enabling battlefield repairs that restore protection without requiring return to Forge World facilities. Specialized armor treatments include ablative coatings that vaporize when exposed to energy weapons, creating plasma clouds that disperse laser beams while absorbing thermal energy that would otherwise damage underlying structures. These coatings require regular renewal through ritual application processes that combine technical procedures with religious observances, as tech priests believe that proper spiritual preparation enhances the material's protective properties. Additional protective measures include electromagnetic shielding that protects sensitive electronics from enemy jamming attempts and radiation hardening that allows continued operation in contaminated environments. The sacred rituals required to maintain Titan defensive systems encompass both technical procedures and religious observances that ensure optimal performance while honoring the machine spirits that inhabit these protective systems. Daily maintenance rituals begin before dawn with incense burning and chanted litanies that awaken the machine spirits and prepare them for the day's operations. Tech adepts perform detailed inspections of shield generators, armor plating, and internal systems while reciting prayers of protection and offering sacred oils to critical components. Void shield maintenance requires particularly elaborate ceremonies that acknowledge the dangerous forces contained within the generator systems, while requesting continued protection from the machine spirits that control dimensional interface mechanisms. The rituals include harmonic tuning procedures that adjust field frequencies through combinations of technical calibration and sacred chanting, creating resonance patterns that enhance shield stability while pleasing the artificial intelligences that manage field projection. Sacred incense burned during these ceremonies incorporates rare elements that are believed to strengthen dimensional barriers, while the smoke patterns provide tech adepts with visual indicators of shield system health. Armor blessing ceremonies occur weekly and involve the application of sacred oils and the inscription of protective prayers onto individual armor plates using molecular etching equipment guided by tech priest artisans. These inscriptions incorporate both technical specifications and religious invocations that are believed to enhance the armor's protective properties through divine intervention. The ceremonies require precise timing that coordinates with planetary rotation and stellar alignments, as tech priests believe that celestial influences affect the potency of their protective blessings. Close combat weapons designed for Titan-scale melee engagement represent some of the most devastating hand-to-hand armaments ever created, incorporating technologies that can tear through the heaviest armor while generating destructive effects that extend far beyond their physical dimensions. Chainfists mount massive chainsaw mechanisms that incorporate monomolecular cutting teeth capable of slicing through adamantium plating with minimal resistance, while disruptor field generators create energy halos that weaken molecular bonds in target materials. These weapons require enormous power inputs to maintain cutting speed and field strength, drawing energy directly from the Titan's reactor core through armored power conduits that can withstand the tremendous forces generated during combat. The chainfist's cutting mechanism incorporates thousands of individual teeth arranged in multiple parallel chains that rotate at supersonic speeds, creating cutting surfaces that can maintain effectiveness even after suffering significant battle damage. Each tooth is individually blessed and inscribed with microscopic prayer texts that are believed to enhance cutting efficiency while honoring the weapon's machine spirit. The weapon's motor systems include redundant drive mechanisms that ensure continued operation even after suffering direct hits from enemy weapons, while sophisticated guidance systems allow precise control over cutting angles and penetration depth. Power claws represent an alternative approach to Titan melee combat that emphasizes crushing force and energy discharge over cutting action, incorporating massive hydraulic systems that can generate grip pressures measured in thousands of tons per square centimeter. These weapons mount disruptor field generators that create localized space-time distortions around the claw's grip surfaces, allowing them to tear through enemy armor through dimensional manipulation rather than purely physical force. The power claw's energy requirements are substantial but manageable, allowing sustained combat operation without overwhelming the Titan's power generation capacity. Advanced power claw designs incorporate shaped charge systems that can be triggered during grappling attacks, creating internal explosions that devastate enemy war engines from within their protective armor shells. These charges are individually crafted by master artificers and blessed through elaborate ceremonies that invoke the Emperor's protection while requesting maximum destructive effect against heretical enemies. The weapon's hydraulic systems include emergency pressure release mechanisms that prevent catastrophic failure if the claw becomes jammed or damaged during combat operations. Titan-sized melee weapons extend beyond basic cutting and crushing implements to include specialized tools designed for specific combat applications and battlefield engineering tasks. Siege hammers incorporate gravitometric field generators that multiply impact force through localized gravity manipulation, creating devastating effects that can shatter fortress walls and crush enemy war engines through accumulated structural damage. These weapons require careful timing and positioning to achieve maximum effect, as their tremendous weight and power generation requirements limit their practical rate of use during sustained combat. Wrecking balls mounted on flexible cables allow Titan crews to engage multiple enemies simultaneously while maintaining distance from concentrated return fire, using momentum and gravity to generate destructive impacts that can disable enemy vehicles and clear battlefield obstacles. The weapon's cable systems incorporate monomolecular filaments that resist cutting while maintaining flexibility, allowing complex attack patterns that can bypass enemy defensive measures. Advanced variants include explosive charges within the wrecking ball itself, creating secondary destructive effects that enhance the weapon's anti-armor capabilities. Specialized equipment systems that support Titan operations encompass a vast array of sensors, communication devices, and auxiliary systems that transform these war engines from simple weapon platforms into sophisticated command and control centers capable of coordinating complex multi-unit operations. Surveyor arrays incorporate multiple sensor types including optical, thermal, electromagnetic, and gravitometric detection systems that provide comprehensive battlefield awareness across extended ranges. These sensors can detect enemy movements through terrain features, identify specific vehicle types and weapon systems, and track multiple targets simultaneously while providing targeting data to weapon systems. Advanced surveyor systems include predictive analysis capabilities that use artificial intelligence algorithms to anticipate enemy movements and identify optimal engagement opportunities based on historical combat data and tactical doctrine analysis. These systems can process enormous volumes of sensor data in real time, filtering relevant information for crew consideration while automatically flagging priority threats and tactical opportunities. The Surveyor Array's data processing capabilities rival those of Imperial Navy vessels, requiring dedicated cogitator banks and specialized maintenance procedures to ensure optimal performance. Communication systems enable Titan crews to maintain contact with supporting forces across extended operational areas while coordinating complex multi-unit maneuvers that require precise timing and positioning. These systems incorporate quantum entanglement communicators that provide instantaneous contact regardless of distance or electromagnetic interference, allowing coordination of planetary-scale operations from individual Titan command centers. The communication arrays include encryption systems that prevent enemy interception, while automated relay functions ensure message delivery, even if primary communication nodes suffer battle damage. Command systems transform senior Titans into mobile headquarters capable of directing entire battle groups through sophisticated tactical analysis and coordination capabilities. These systems include hololithic display arrays that provide three-dimensional battlefield visualization, allowing commanders to track friendly and enemy units while planning complex maneuvers that optimize tactical advantages. The command systems incorporate artificial intelligence advisors that can suggest tactical options and calculate probability outcomes for different courses of action, though final decisions remain with human commanders who understand the nuances of battlefield conditions that may not be apparent to artificial intelligence systems. The sacred machine cult technologies that maintain Titan weapon systems operational represent a fusion of advanced engineering and religious devotion that ensures these critical systems continue functioning despite the tremendous stresses of combat operation. Tech adepts trained in weapon maintenance undergo years of specialized education that combines technical knowledge with spiritual preparation, learning to commune with the machine spirits that inhabit each weapon system while mastering the complex procedures required to maintain optimal performance. These specialists develop intimate familiarity with their assigned systems, learning to interpret subtle performance variations that indicate potential problems before they can affect combat effectiveness. Maintenance procedures incorporate both technical tasks and religious observances that honor the machine spirits while ensuring continued reliability under combat conditions. Daily rituals include the application of sacred oils to moving parts, the burning of blessed incense to purify mechanical components, and the recitation of technical litanies that combine operational procedures with prayers for continued function. These ceremonies require precise timing and execution, as improper observance is believed to anger the machine spirits and potentially cause equipment failures during critical combat situations. Specialized maintenance equipment includes molecular-level diagnostic systems that can detect microscopic wear patterns and stress fractures before they compromise weapon performance, allowing preventive maintenance that extends operational life while maintaining peak effectiveness. These diagnostic systems incorporate artificial intelligence algorithms that can predict failure patterns based on usage history and environmental conditions, providing maintenance schedules that optimize weapon availability while minimizing resource expenditure. The equipment requires constant calibration and blessing to ensure accurate readings, as tech adepts believe that spiritual corruption can affect diagnostic accuracy and lead to improper maintenance decisions. The catastrophic civil war that would forever scar the Imperium began not with a single moment of betrayal, but through a gradual corruption that infected the very foundations of human civilization. When Warmaster Horus turned against the Emperor, his rebellion fractured every institution of imperial power, and the Collegia Titanica proved no exception to this devastating schism. The god machines that had served as symbols of imperial unity became instruments of fratricidal warfare as Forge Worlds chose sides in a conflict that would determine humanity's fate. The initial phases of the heresy caught many within the Collegia Titanica unprepared for the scale of betrayal that would unfold. Titan legions that had fought alongside each other for decades suddenly found themselves facing former allies across smoking battlefields, their war engines bearing the same sacred symbols while serving opposing masters. The machine spirits within these ancient war engines struggled to comprehend the conflict, their programming containing no protocols for engaging other Imperial Titans in combat. This confusion manifested in weapon malfunctions, targeting errors, and system failures as artificial intelligences grappled with contradictory imperatives that demanded both loyalty to the Emperor and obedience to their Forge World masters. Legio Mortis, the Death's Heads, became one of the first major Titan legions to openly declare for Horus, their decision driven by complex political calculations and long-standing grievances against Terra's increasingly centralized authority. The Legion's commanders had grown frustrated with Imperial doctrine that subordinated Titan operations to Space Marine and Imperial Army priorities, viewing their god machines as strategic assets that deserved independent operational authority. When Horus promised greater autonomy for the Mechanicum and recognition of Forge World sovereignty, Legio Mortis' leadership saw an opportunity to restore what they perceived as the proper balance of power within the Imperium. The Death's Head's betrayal sent shockwaves throughout the Collegia Titanica, as their reputation for tactical excellence and unwavering discipline had made them a model for other legions to emulate. Their defection legitimized Horus's rebellion in the eyes of many tech adepts who had previously viewed the conflict as a purely Astartes affair, demonstrating that the War Master commanded support among the Imperium's most prestigious military formations. The psychological impact of seeing Legio Mortis' war engines bearing Horus's serpentine heraldry, alongside their traditional Death's Head symbols, convinced many fence-sitting Forge Worlds that the rebellion represented a viable alternative to continued Imperial rule. Legio Tempestus, the Storm Lords, followed Legio Mortis into rebellion after their Forge World of Ryza declared for Horus following intensive negotiations with the War Master's emissaries. The Legion's decision reflected broader political currents within the Mechanicum, as Forge Worlds that had felt marginalized by Terra's increasing interference in their internal affairs saw the heresy as an opportunity to reassert their independence. The Storm Lords' advanced plasma weapons technology made their defection particularly damaging to the Loyalist cause, as their expertise in energy weapon systems had been crucial for maintaining and upgrading Titan armaments throughout Imperial space. The corruption that accompanied these betrayals extended beyond simple political allegiance to encompass spiritual and technological contamination that would fundamentally alter the nature of Titan warfare. As the heresy progressed, traitor legions began incorporating chaos symbols and demonic influences into their war engines, believing that such modifications would enhance their combat effectiveness while demonstrating their commitment to their new masters. These changes initially appeared cosmetic, consisting of altered heraldry and ritualistic modifications to weapon systems, but they soon evolved into more fundamental alterations that affected the very essence of the machine spirits themselves. The first confirmed reports of demonic possession affecting Titan machine spirits emerged from the battlefields of Istvan III, where Loyalist survivors described traitor war engines exhibiting behavior patterns that defied conventional understanding of artificial intelligence limitations. These possessed Titans demonstrated tactical creativity and battlefield awareness that exceeded their original programming parameters, while their weapon systems achieved accuracy rates that appeared to violate physical laws governing targeting and ballistics. More disturbing still were accounts of traitor Titans continuing to function despite suffering damage that should have rendered them inoperative, their machine spirits apparently sustained by supernatural forces that replaced conventional mechanical systems. The process of demonic corruption typically began with ritual modifications performed by dark Mechanicum tech adepts who had embraced chaos worship as a means of transcending the limitations of conventional technology. These corrupted priests conducted elaborate ceremonies that opened dimensional rifts within Titan cogitator cores, allowing warp entities to establish footholds within the artificial consciousness matrices that governed war engine operations. The initial possession process often went undetected, as the demonic influences worked subtly to avoid triggering security protocols while gradually expanding their control over critical systems. Possessed machine spirits exhibited increasingly erratic behavior as demonic influence strengthened, displaying emotional responses and tactical preferences that reflected their supernatural inhabitants rather than original programming parameters. These corrupted war engines developed preferences for specific types of targets, often focusing their attacks on religious symbols, loyalist commanders, or civilian populations in ways that served no tactical purpose but satisfied their demonic passengers' desires for suffering and destruction. The possession process also affected the Titan's physical appearance, as demonic influence manifested through spontaneous mutations in armor plating, weapon systems, and internal structures that took on organic characteristics completely alien to Imperial technology. The Battle of Beta Garmin represented the largest Titan engagement of the entire heresy, as both loyalist and traitor forces committed massive war engine formations to a conflict that would determine control over one of the Imperium's most strategically important Forge worlds. The battle began when Horus launched a coordinated assault designed to capture Beta Garmin's Titan production facilities, while eliminating the loyalist legions that defended the system. The War Master's forces included elements from multiple traitor legions, supported by corrupted Forge World contingents, whose war engines bore the twisted symbols of chaos alongside traditional Imperial heraldry. Loyalist defenders included Legio Griffonicus, the War Griffins, whose yellow and red war engines formed the backbone of Beta Garmin's defensive forces. The Legion's crews had spent months preparing defensive positions that maximized their Titans' firepower advantages, while minimizing exposure to the superior numbers that intelligence reports indicated the traitors would bring to bear. The War Griffin's tactical doctrine emphasized coordinated fire missions that could eliminate enemy war engines before they could close to effective engagement range. But the scale of the traitor assault soon overwhelmed their carefully prepared defensive arrangements. The opening phases of Beta Garmin saw Titan formations engaging across distances that stretched the limits of their weapon system's effective ranges, as both sides sought to achieve decisive advantages before committing to close-range combat where numerical superiority would prove decisive. Legio Mortis war engines advanced in coordinated maniples that used terrain features to mask their approach while maintaining formation integrity under heavy defensive fire. Their black and bone-white Titans moved with mechanical precision that reflected their legion's reputation for tactical discipline, though loyalist observers noted subtle changes in their movement patterns that suggested machine spirit corruption was already affecting their operational parameters. The battle's intensity escalated dramatically when traitor reinforcements arrived carrying weapons and equipment that clearly showed signs of chaos corruption. These war engines mounted weapon systems that fired projectiles wreathed in warp flame, generated energy beams that seemed to bend space around their targets, and incorporated defensive systems that appeared to draw power from dimensional sources beyond conventional understanding. The corrupted technology proved devastatingly effective against loyalist forces whose equipment operated according to conventional physical principles, creating tactical advantages that allowed numerically inferior traitor formations to achieve disproportionate success rates. Legio Griffonicus responded to these supernatural threats by adapting their tactics to account for enemy capabilities that defied conventional military analysis. War Griffin princeps learned to anticipate weapon effects that violated established ballistic principles while developing targeting solutions for enemies whose defensive systems operated through mechanisms that Imperial science could not explain. The psychological strain of fighting former allies whose war engines had been transformed into supernatural abominations took a severe toll on loyalist crews, many of whom reported nightmares and hallucinations that persisted long after the battle's conclusion. The climactic phase of Beta Garmin occurred when traitor forces breached the primary defensive perimeter and engaged loyalist Titans in close-quarters combat that devastated both formations. The fighting devolved into a chaotic melee where individual war engines grappled with enemies at point-blank range, their massive weapons creating explosions that could be seen from orbital distances. Possessed traitor Titans demonstrated unnatural resilience that allowed them to continue fighting despite suffering damage that should have been immediately fatal, while their corrupted weapon systems generated effects that seemed to drain the very life force from their targets. The Loyalist evacuation from Beta Garman marked a turning point in the heresy, as Imperial forces recognized that they faced enemies whose capabilities transcended conventional military analysis. The surviving War Griffins carried with them detailed intelligence reports describing traitor weapon systems and tactical capabilities that would prove crucial for developing countermeasures against chaos corruption. These reports documented the first confirmed instances of demonic possession affecting Titan machine spirits, providing the Collegia Titanica with essential information about supernatural threats that would continue to plague Loyalist forces throughout the remainder of the conflict. The Siege of Terra represented the ultimate test of the Collegia Titanica's loyalty and combat effectiveness, as both sides committed their most powerful war engines to a battle that would determine the Imperium's fate. The palace defenses included multiple Titan legions, whose war engines had been specially modified for urban combat operations, their weapon systems optimized for engaging enemies in the confined spaces of the Imperial capital's massive architecture. Legio Ignatum, the Fire Wasps, formed the core of the defensive force with their aggressive assault tactics, proving well-suited for the close-range combat that characterized much of the siege fighting. Traitor forces approaching Terra included some of the most heavily corrupted Titan formations in Horus's arsenal, their war engines bearing mutations and modifications that transformed them into nightmarish parodies of their original designs. These corrupted machines incorporated organic components that pulsed with unnatural life, weapon systems that fired projectiles composed of crystallized screams, and defensive arrays that drew power from the suffering of nearby populations. The sight of these abominations advancing across Terra's sacred soil filled Loyalist defenders with rage and horror in equal measure, strengthening their resolve to prevent such corruption from reaching the Emperor's throne room. The siege's Titan engagements occurred primarily in the outer defensive zones, where the massive war engines could maneuver effectively without causing excessive collateral damage to critical infrastructure. These battles featured some of the most intense fighting of the entire heresy, as crews on both sides understood that defeat meant not just military failure, but the potential destruction of everything they held sacred. Loyalist Titans fought with desperate fury, while traitor war engines pressed forward with supernatural determination, their possessed machine spirits driving them to continue attacking even after suffering crippling damage. The climactic moments of the siege saw individual Titan duels that became legendary within Collegia Titanica traditions, as veteran princeps faced former comrades in single combat that tested both their martial skills and spiritual fortitude. These encounters often lasted for hours, as equally matched opponents sought decisive advantages through superior positioning, tactical innovation, and sheer force of will. The psychological dimension of these fights proved as important as their physical aspects, as Loyalist crews struggled to overcome their reluctance to destroy war engines that had once served alongside them in the Emperor's name. The aftermath of the Horus heresy left the Collegia Titanica fundamentally transformed, its unity shattered, and its traditions forever scarred by the betrayals and corruptions that had torn the organization apart. The surviving Loyalist legions faced the enormous task of rebuilding their strength while implementing new security measures designed to prevent future rebellions from within their ranks. The experience of fighting possessed war engines had demonstrated the vulnerability of machine spirits to supernatural corruption, forcing the development of new blessing rituals and protective protocols that would become standard throughout the post-heresy Imperium. The Codex Titanicus emerged from this period of reconstruction as a comprehensive doctrine that addressed both tactical and spiritual aspects of Titan warfare in the new imperial order. This document established standardized procedures for detecting and countering chaos corruption, while implementing command structures that distributed authority in ways designed to prevent wholesale legion defections. The Codex also formalized the relationship between the Collegia Titanica and other imperial institutions, creating oversight mechanisms that would ensure continued loyalty while preserving the operational independence necessary for effective Titan deployment. New recruitment and training protocols incorporated extensive psychological screening designed to identify individuals susceptible to chaos corruption before they could access Titan systems. These procedures included spiritual evaluation by imperial clergy, genetic analysis to detect hereditary instabilities, and prolonged observation periods that allowed potential problems to manifest before candidates received critical augmetic modifications. The enhanced screening process significantly reduced recruitment rates but improved the reliability of new crews while reducing the risk of internal sabotage or corruption. The establishment of Titan legions in the post-heresy era required careful political navigation as the Collegia Titanica worked to rebuild its strength while addressing the concerns of imperial authorities who remained suspicious of large autonomous military formations. New legions received smaller initial allocations of war engines, while their loyalty was proven through extended service periods, gradually earning access to additional resources and operational independence based on demonstrated reliability. This cautious approach slowed the rebuilding process, but helped restore confidence in the Collegia Titanica's commitment to imperial service. The spiritual dimension of Titan warfare gained increased emphasis as the Collegia Titanica recognized that technological superiority alone could not protect against supernatural threats. New blessing rituals incorporated protective prayers and consecration ceremonies designed to strengthen machine spirits against demonic influence, while maintenance procedures included regular spiritual cleansing that purged any traces of corruption before they could take hold. These religious observances became as important as technical maintenance in ensuring continued operational effectiveness, transforming Titan crews into warrior priests whose duties encompassed both martial and spiritual responsibilities. The awakening of a Titan represents one of the most sacred ceremonies within the Collegia Titanica, a complex ritual that bridges the gap between technological procedure and religious observance. Before each deployment, the massive war engines must be roused from their dormant state through elaborate protocols that honor both the machine spirit dwelling within and the Omnissiah, whose divine essence flows through every circuit and servo. The process begins in the pre-dawn hours when tech adepts gather in the Titan's maintenance bay, their red robes rustling as they arrange sensors filled with blessed incense around the war engine's towering legs. The awakening ritual commences with the Litany of Ignition, a complex chant that combines binary cant with high Gothic prayers, while tech adepts systematically activate the Titan's primary systems. Each component receives individual attention as sacred oils are applied to joint mechanisms and power conduits, the viscous fluid blessed by forged priests and infused with microscopic prayer scrolls that dissolve into the lubricant matrix. The Titan's reactor core requires particular reverence, as its fusion heart contains forces that mirror the stellar fires of the Omnissiah's creation. Tech adepts approach the reactor chamber with heads bowed, their mechadendrites trailing blessed power cables that will carry the machine spirit's awakening consciousness throughout the war engine's neural networks. The princeps and their crew participate in preparatory rituals that purify their minds and bodies before neural interface connection. These ceremonies involve ritual ablutions using water blessed by senior tech priests, followed by the application of sacred unguents to interface ports that will soon channel the machine spirit's overwhelming presence. The crew recites the Canticle of Communion while undergoing final augmetic checks, their cybernetic implants receiving micro-adjustments that optimize neural compatibility. The princeps dons their neural crown in a ceremony attended by the entire maintenance crew, the device's activation creating subtle electrical discharges that dance across their scalp like miniature lightning. Maintenance rituals extend far beyond simple mechanical procedures to encompass elaborate spiritual observances that ensure the machine spirit's continued cooperation. Daily maintenance begins with the Hymnal of Awakening, sung by tech adepts as they perform diagnostic routines that check thousands of individual components for signs of wear or malfunction. Each system receives blessing through the application of sacred oils and the burning of incense that carries prayers to the Omnissiah, while servo skulls drift through the Titan's interior spaces, performing detailed scans that combine technical analysis with spiritual assessment. The weekly rite of cleansing involves comprehensive purification of the Titan's internal systems, using blessed solvents and purification fields that remove both physical contamination and spiritual corruption. Tech adepts disassemble weapon systems with reverent care, cleaning each component while reciting prayers that honor its function within the greater whole. Ammunition is individually blessed and inscribed with micro-prayers that are believed to enhance accuracy and destructive power, while power cells receive consecration that aligns their energy output with the Omnissiah's divine will. The ritual concludes with the burning of blessed parchments inscribed with the Titan's service record, their smoke carrying the war engine's achievements to the Omnissiah's attention. Combat blessing ceremonies prepare both machine and crew for the spiritual as well as physical challenges of warfare. The rite of battle preparation involves the application of protective wards to the Titan's hull, tech adepts using molecular etching equipment to inscribe prayer circuits directly into the armor plating. These inscriptions incorporate both protective invocations and targeting prayers that guide the war engine's weapons toward righteous targets while deflecting enemy fire through divine intervention. The ceremony includes the consecration of ammunition stores with blessed oils and the installation of prayer strips that flutter from weapon barrels like sacred banners. The crew undergoes their own pre-battle consecration through rituals that strengthen their connection to the machine spirit while protecting their souls from the corrupting influence of warfare. Each crew member receives anointing with sacred oils blessed by forged priests, their neural interface ports receiving particular attention, as these represent the most vulnerable points for spiritual contamination. The Princeps leads the crew in reciting the Oath of Steel and Soul, a binding vow that dedicates their actions to the Emperor's glory while requesting the machine's spirit's cooperation in the coming battle. The hierarchical structure within Titan legions reflects both military necessity and religious doctrine, creating command systems that balance operational efficiency with spiritual authority. At the apex of each legion stands the Princeps Maximus, a figure whose authority extends beyond mere military command to encompass spiritual leadership over the entire formation. These individuals have typically served as Princeps for decades, their neural modifications so extensive that they exist in permanent communion with their war engine's machine spirit. The Princeps Maximus commands from the Legion's most powerful Titan, usually an Emperor-class war engine whose cathedral-like command center serves as both tactical headquarters and mobile shrine. Below the Princeps Maximus, the Princeps Seniorus serve as maniple commanders, whose responsibilities encompass both tactical leadership and spiritual guidance for their subordinate crews. These senior officers typically operate Warlord-class Titans, whose advanced command systems allow coordination of multiple war engines across extended battlefields. The Princeps Seniorus undergoes additional augmetic modifications that enhance their ability to process tactical data while maintaining spiritual connection with multiple machine spirits simultaneously. Their neural crowns incorporate specialized communication arrays that create direct links with subordinate Titans, allowing thought-speed coordination that transcends conventional command structures. Individual Princeps command their war engines with authority that approaches the divine, their deep neural connection with the machine's spirit creating a symbiotic relationship that transcends normal human limitations. These officers undergo the most extensive augmetic modifications within the Legion hierarchy, their brains extensively rebuilt with cogitator arrays and neural interface systems that allow direct control over their Titan systems. The psychological toll of such modifications is severe, with most Princeps exhibiting personality changes that reflect increasing integration with artificial consciousness patterns. The Moderati serve as essential intermediaries between the Princeps and their war engine systems, managing specific subsystems while maintaining limited connection to the machine spirit's consciousness. These specialists typically control weapon systems, defensive arrays, or sensor networks, their augmetic modifications less extensive than those of full princeps, but still sufficient to achieve direct neural interface with their assigned systems. Moderati training emphasizes technical expertise and system specialization, creating officers who can manage complex subsystems with minimal oversight while supporting their princeps' overall tactical objectives. Tech adepts within Titan legions serve dual roles as both technical specialists and religious authorities, their expertise encompassing mechanical maintenance and spiritual guidance. These individuals undergo extensive theological training alongside their technical education, learning to interpret the machine spirit's needs while performing the complex maintenance procedures that keep God machines operational. Senior tech adepts often serve as spiritual advisors to princeps, helping to maintain the delicate balance between human consciousness and artificial intelligence that successful Titan operation requires. Servitors provide essential support functions throughout Titan operations, their lobotomized minds ideal for performing routine tasks that would overwhelm normal human consciousness in proximity to active machine spirits. These cyborg constructs handle ammunition loading, basic maintenance tasks, and system monitoring duties that free more capable personnel for complex operations. Servitor programming includes specific behavioral protocols that prevent interference with machine-spirit communion while ensuring continued functionality even under combat conditions. The relationship between the Collegia Titanica and the broader Adeptus Mechanicus reflects centuries of political evolution and theological development that has created both cooperation and tension between these powerful organizations. The Collegia Titanica emerged from within the Mechanicum during the Great Crusade as a specialized branch focused exclusively on God-machine operations, gradually developing institutional independence that sometimes conflicts with broader Mechanicus authority. This autonomy stems from the unique requirements of Titan warfare and the specialized knowledge required to maintain and operate these complex war engines. Theological disputes between the organizations often center on interpretations of the Omnissiah's will regarding Titan deployment and the proper balance between technological innovation and traditional doctrine. The Collegia Titanica tends toward conservative interpretations that emphasize the sacred nature of existing Titan designs and the importance of maintaining traditional operational procedures. The broader Mechanicus sometimes advocates for technological experimentation and innovation that Titan crews view as potentially dangerous to the delicate relationship between princeps and machine spirit. Shared doctrines include fundamental beliefs about the divine nature of technology and the Omnissiah's manifestation through mechanical systems. Both organizations venerate the Emperor as the Omnissiah while maintaining that technological knowledge represents divine revelation that must be preserved and protected. The quest for knowledge drives both groups to seek understanding of ancient technologies, while the doctrine of the weakness of the flesh encourages extensive augmetic modification among their members. Administrative relationships between the organizations involve complex negotiations over resource allocation, personnel assignments, and operational authority that reflect their overlapping but distinct areas of responsibility. The Collegia Titanica maintains exclusive authority over Titan operations, while depending on the broader Mechanicus for manufacturing support, technical expertise, and raw materials. This interdependence creates opportunities for cooperation, but also generates conflicts when organizational priorities diverge or resources become scarce. Sacred festivals within the Collegia Titanica combine military ceremony with religious observance, creating events that strengthen unit cohesion while honoring the divine forces that empower their war engines. The Festival of Iron celebrates the anniversary of each legion's founding through elaborate ceremonies that showcase their titans in full ceremonial array. These events feature parade formations where war engines display their heraldry and battle honors, while crews demonstrate their skills through precision maneuvers and synchronized movements that require perfect coordination between multiple machine spirits. The Day of Awakening commemorates the first successful activation of Titan production on Mars through rituals that reenact the ancient ceremonies that brought the first god machines to life. Participating Titans undergo complete shutdown and reactivation sequences that symbolically recreate their original awakening while demonstrating the continued vitality of their machine spirits. The ceremonies include communal recitation of the founding myths and the display of sacred relics that connect contemporary legions to their ancient origins. Ceremonial combats provide opportunities for Titan crews to demonstrate their skills while honoring fallen comrades and celebrating victorious campaigns. These events typically involve mock battles between Legion elements using reduced power weapons and specialized ammunition that creates impressive visual effects without causing permanent damage. The combats follow ritualized patterns that showcase different tactical doctrines, while allowing crews to practice coordination and maneuvering in non-lethal environments. The veneration of ancient Titan patterns as holy relics reflects the Collegia Titanica's deep reverence for the technological achievements of humanity's golden age. First-generation Titans that have survived since the Great Crusade receive special honor as living connections to the Emperor's time, their machine spirits viewed as repositories of ancient wisdom and divine favor. These venerable war engines often serve as Legion standards and ceremonial centerpieces, their mere presence lending authority to important ceremonies and strategic decisions. Relic weapons and components recovered from destroyed Titans receive careful preservation and ritual veneration, their incorporation into new war engines viewed as transferring some measure of their predecessors' glory and combat experience. The installation of relic components requires elaborate ceremonies that honor both the fallen war engine and the machine spirit that will inherit its legacy. These rituals often include the recitation of the relic's combat history and the specific battles where it earned distinction. Ancient standard template construct fragments related to Titan construction receive treatment as sacred texts, whose every detail contains divine revelation about proper war engine design and operation. Tech adepts study these documents with religious devotion while seeking to understand the principles that guided humanity's greatest technological achievements. The fragments' preservation requires specialized storage facilities and handling procedures that protect them from both physical degradation and spiritual contamination. The deployment of Titan maniples follows standardized formations that have evolved through millennia of warfare, each configuration designed to maximize the unique capabilities of different god-machine classes while providing tactical flexibility across diverse battlefield conditions. The Axiom Maniple represents the most balanced and versatile formation within Collegia Titanica doctrine, typically consisting of one Warlord Battle Titan supported by 2 Reaver Battle Titans and a squadron of 3 to 5 Warhound Scout Titans. This configuration provides commanders with the full spectrum of engagement capabilities, from long-range fire support and area denial to rapid reconnaissance and close assault operations. The Axiom formation's tactical employment centers around the Warlord's role as both command platform and heavy fire support asset, its massive weapon systems providing devastating long-range bombardment, while its advanced sensor arrays coordinate the activities of supporting war engines. The Warlord typically positions itself on elevated terrain or prepared firing positions that maximize weapon range while providing clear lines of sight across the operational area. From these commanding positions, the Warlord's Princeps can direct the Maniple's tactical movements while maintaining direct fire support for advancing elements. Reaver Battle Titans within the Axiom formation serve as the primary assault force, using their balanced weapon loadouts and enhanced mobility to exploit weaknesses identified by reconnaissance elements or created by the Warlord's bombardment. These war engines advance in coordinated pairs that provide mutual support while maintaining sufficient separation to prevent concentrated enemy fire from engaging multiple targets simultaneously. The Reaver's tactical doctrine emphasizes aggressive movement and rapid target engagement, using their superior firepower to eliminate enemy strongpoints before withdrawing to new positions that deny effective counterfire. Warhound Scout Titans operate as the Maniple's reconnaissance screen and rapid response force, their exceptional speed allowing them to probe enemy positions and identify priority targets for engagement by heavier war engines. These agile machines typically deploy several kilometers ahead of the main formation, using terrain features and electronic warfare systems to avoid detection while gathering intelligence about enemy dispositions and capabilities. When targets of opportunity present themselves, Warhound crews can conduct rapid strikes before withdrawing to safety, their hit-and-run tactics creating confusion and disruption among enemy formations. The coordination between different Titan classes within Axiom Maniples requires extensive training and communication protocols that allow seamless integration of their diverse capabilities. Warhound reconnaissance data flows directly to the Warlord's command systems through encrypted data links, providing real-time intelligence that enables precise targeting of enemy positions beyond visual range. The Reavers maintain constant communication with both reconnaissance elements and fire support assets, allowing them to coordinate their advances with supporting bombardment while avoiding friendly fire incidents during complex maneuvers. Fortis Maniples represent a more aggressive configuration that emphasizes close-range combat and breakthrough operations, typically consisting of 2 Reaver Battle Titans supported by 3 to 4 Warhound Scout Titans. This formation sacrifices the heavy fire support capabilities of Warlord-class war engines in exchange for enhanced mobility and tactical flexibility that proves particularly effective in fluid battlefield conditions, where rapid response and adaptability take precedence over raw firepower. The Fortis configuration excels in urban warfare environments and broken terrain where the superior mobility of medium-class Titans provides decisive advantages over heavier formations. The tactical doctrine governing Fortis Maniple employment emphasizes rapid advance and concentrated assault against specific enemy formations or strategic objectives. The formation's Reavers advance in close coordination, while Warhound elements provide flank security and reconnaissance support, the entire Maniple moving with synchronized precision that allows them to overwhelm isolated enemy positions through concentrated firepower. The absence of super-heavy fire support requires Fortis Maniples to rely on speed and tactical surprise rather than prolonged bombardment, creating operational tempo that keeps enemy forces off balance while preventing effective defensive coordination. Warhound elements within Fortis formations assume expanded responsibilities that extend beyond simple reconnaissance to encompass direct fire support and tactical coordination. These Scout Titans often operate in close proximity to the advancing Reavers, using their weapons to suppress enemy defensive positions while providing early warning of threats that might compromise the assault. The enhanced coordination requirements demand exceptional skill from Warhound crews, who must balance their traditional scouting duties with the need to provide immediate fire support during critical phases of the advance. Venator Maniples specialize in long-range engagement and siege warfare operations, built around formations of Warhound Scout Titans that emphasize firepower and endurance over the mobility traditionally associated with Scout formations. These configurations typically include 4 to 6 Warhounds equipped with long-range weapons such as turbo laser destructors and plasma blast guns, supported by specialized ammunition carriers and maintenance vehicles that enable sustained operations far from established supply bases. The Venator doctrine represents a departure from conventional Scout Titan employment, transforming these agile war engines into precision fire platforms capable of eliminating specific targets at extreme ranges. The tactical employment of Venator Maniples requires careful positioning and extensive reconnaissance to identify optimal firing positions that maximize weapon effectiveness while minimizing exposure to enemy counterfire. These formations typically establish concealed firing positions several kilometers from their intended targets, using natural terrain features and camouflage systems to avoid detection by enemy reconnaissance elements. The extended engagement ranges allow Venator crews to engage priority targets while remaining outside the effective range of most enemy weapons, creating tactical advantages that compensate for their reduced armor protection and defensive capabilities. Target selection within Venator operations emphasizes high-value assets that justify the expenditure of precision ammunition and the risk of revealing concealed positions. Enemy command vehicles, artillery positions, and supply installations represent priority targets whose destruction can significantly impact hostile operations while avoiding the sustained firefights that might overwhelm lightly armored scout titans. The formation's success depends on achieving decisive results through limited engagements rather than prolonged combat operations that would expose their vulnerabilities to enemy counteraction. Titan Legion support elements encompass a vast array of specialized units and equipment that transform individual maniples into comprehensive combined arms formations capable of independent operations across extended campaign periods. Skitarii cohorts provide essential infantry support that protects Titans from close-range threats while securing objectives that war engines cannot effectively occupy. These cybernetically enhanced soldiers undergo extensive training in Titan support operations, learning to coordinate their movements with God-machine formations while providing specialized services that enhance overall tactical effectiveness. Skitarii Rangers serve as the primary reconnaissance and security element for Titan operations, their advanced sensor equipment and stealth capabilities allowing them to gather intelligence about enemy positions while establishing early warning networks that protect advancing war engines from ambush attacks. These specialists typically deploy several hours ahead of Titan formations, using their enhanced mobility and concealment systems to establish observation posts that monitor enemy movements. The Rangers' long-range weapons allow them to eliminate isolated threats, while their communication systems provide real-time intelligence updates to Titan commanders. Skitarii Vanguard units specialize in close-range combat and urban warfare operations that complement Titan capabilities in complex terrain environments. These heavily armed soldiers carry specialized weapons designed to eliminate infantry threats and light vehicles that might exploit the limited anti-personnel capabilities of God-machine formations. The Vanguard's radiation weapons prove particularly effective against enemy forces attempting to establish positions in areas contaminated by Titan plasma weapons, their exotic ammunition creating denial zones that prevent effective enemy occupation. Knight households that fight alongside Titan legions provide intermediate fire support that bridges the capability gap between massive God machines and conventional ground forces. These smaller war engines possess sufficient firepower to engage enemy armor and fortified positions while maintaining the mobility necessary to exploit tactical opportunities that larger Titans might miss. Knight pilots undergo training that emphasizes coordination with Titan formations, learning to operate as supporting elements rather than independent units while adapting their traditional combat doctrines to complement God-machine operations. Imperial Knight paladins and errants serve as the primary combat elements within household formations, their balanced weapon loadouts providing versatility that proves valuable across diverse tactical situations. These war engines typically advance alongside Reaver battle titans during assault operations, using their superior mobility to engage targets of opportunity while providing flank security for the larger God machines. The Knight's ability to engage multiple target types simultaneously makes them ideal for clearing enemy defensive positions that might otherwise require concentrated Titan fire to eliminate. Knight Castellans and Crusaders provide specialized fire support capabilities that enhance the overall effectiveness of combined formations. These heavily armed variants carry weapons systems that approach Titan-class firepower while maintaining the mobility advantages of smaller war engines. The Castellans' long-range weapons allow them to engage enemy formations from positions that complement Titan fire lanes, while Crusaders provide devastating close-range firepower that proves particularly effective during urban combat operations. coordination between Titan legions and Astra Militarum forces requires extensive planning and communication protocols that account for the vast differences in scale, mobility, and operational tempo between these diverse military formations. Imperial Guard regiments provide essential services that include area security, supply line protection, and occupation of terrain features that Titans cannot effectively control. The integration of these forces demands careful coordination to prevent friendly fire incidents while maximizing the complementary capabilities of each formation type. Artillery support from Astra Militarum formations provides area denial and suppressive fire capabilities that enhance Titan tactical options while conserving God Machine ammunition for priority targets. Imperial Guard artillery can engage enemy formations that present poor targets for Titan weapons while providing sustained bombardment that fixes enemy forces in positions where they become vulnerable to God Machine assault. The coordination of artillery fires with Titan movements requires precise timing and communication to ensure maximum effectiveness while preventing interference with friendly operations. Infantry support from Guard regiments proves essential for securing objectives captured by Titan assault while providing protection against enemy forces that might exploit the limited anti-infantry capabilities of God Machine formations. Imperial Guard units can occupy and defend terrain features that Titans cannot effectively control, creating secure bases that support extended operations while denying enemy forces access to critical positions. The infantry's ability to clear buildings and fortified positions complements Titan firepower while reducing the risk of close-range attacks against valuable war engines. Strategic deployment of Titan formations requires massive logistical undertakings that strain even the Imperium's vast transportation and supply networks. The movement of God Machines across interstellar distances demands specialized transport vessels whose cargo capacity and structural reinforcement exceed those of conventional military transports. These massive ships incorporate dedicated Titan berths with restraint systems designed to secure war engines during warp transit, while providing access to maintenance facilities that allow continued servicing during extended voyages. The Imperator Somnium class represents the largest dedicated Titan transport vessels in Imperial service, capable of carrying entire maniples along with their supporting equipment and personnel. These enormous ships measure several kilometers in length and incorporate specialized loading systems that can accommodate the largest God Machines while providing secure storage for ammunition, spare parts, and maintenance equipment. The vessel's internal layout includes dedicated crew quarters, training facilities, and communication centers that allow Titan legions to maintain operational readiness during extended transit periods. Smaller transport vessels, such as the Dictator class, provide more flexible deployment options for individual Titans or small formations that require rapid response capability. These ships sacrifice cargo capacity for enhanced speed and maneuverability, allowing them to deliver God Machines to critical locations with minimal delay. The reduced cargo space limits the amount of supporting equipment and supplies that can be transported, requiring careful planning to ensure adequate logistical support upon arrival at the destination. Loading and unloading procedures for Titan transports require specialized port facilities equipped with heavy-duty cranes and reinforced docking systems capable of handling the enormous weight and size of God Machines. These installations typically include dedicated ammunition storage areas, maintenance bays, and crew facilities that support the complex requirements of Titan operations. The loading process can require several days to complete, as each war engine must be carefully secured and its systems prepared for the stresses of interstellar travel. Forward base establishment represents a critical phase of Titan deployment that determines the success of extended campaign operations. These facilities must provide comprehensive support for God Machine operations while remaining sufficiently mobile to adapt to changing tactical requirements. The base infrastructure includes ammunition storage facilities with specialized handling equipment for Titan-grade munitions, maintenance bays equipped with heavy lifting systems and precision tools, and communication centers that coordinate operations across extended operational areas. Ammunition storage requirements for Titan operations exceed those of conventional military units by several orders of magnitude, as individual God Machine weapons consume munitions that weigh several tons per shot. The storage facilities must provide environmental protection for sensitive ammunition types while incorporating safety systems that prevent catastrophic explosions that could destroy entire supply depots. Specialized handling equipment includes automated loading systems that can transfer ammunition from storage to Titan magazines without requiring manual handling of individual rounds. Maintenance facilities within forward bases must accommodate the complex servicing requirements of God machines while providing secure environments for the sensitive procedures required to maintain machine spirit cooperation. These installations include specialized diagnostic equipment that can interface with Titan systems to identify potential problems before they affect operational capability. The facilities also house the extensive spare parts inventories required to maintain God machines in combat-ready condition, with each major component requiring multiple backup units to ensure continued availability. Logistical requirements for sustained Titan operations encompass vast quantities of specialized materials and equipment that must be continuously supplied from Forge World production centers. Plasma fuel for reactor systems requires careful handling and storage procedures that prevent contamination while ensuring adequate supplies for extended operations. Lubricants and coolants for mechanical systems must meet exacting specifications that account for the extreme operating conditions within God machine power plants and weapon systems. Personnel support requirements include not only the Titan crews themselves, but also the extensive technical and support staff necessary to maintain operational capability. Tech adepts require specialized tools and diagnostic equipment that allow them to perform the complex maintenance procedures required by God machine systems. Servitor populations must be maintained through regular replacement and reprogramming cycles that ensure continued functionality under combat conditions. Combat doctrines for urban warfare environments require significant modifications to standard Titan tactical procedures, as the confined spaces and complex terrain of city fighting present unique challenges that can negate many of the advantages normally enjoyed by God machines. The restricted maneuvering space limits the effectiveness of traditional formation tactics, while the abundance of cover and concealment opportunities allows enemy forces to approach within ranges where Titan defensive advantages become less decisive. Urban combat doctrine emphasizes careful coordination between different unit types while adapting weapon employment techniques to account for the increased risk of collateral damage. Building clearance operations require specialized techniques that maximize the destructive potential of Titan weapons, while minimizing the risk of structural collapse that could trap or damage friendly forces. Princeps must carefully calculate firing solutions that account for building construction materials and structural design to achieve desired effects without creating excessive debris that blocks movement corridors. The use of precision weapons becomes critical in urban environments where indiscriminate firepower can create more problems than it solves. Coordination with infantry forces assumes greater importance in urban combat, where the complex terrain provides numerous opportunities for enemy forces to exploit the limited anti-personnel capabilities of God machines. Imperial Guard and Skitarii units must clear buildings and secure areas that Titans cannot effectively control, while providing early warning of threats that might compromise war engine operations. The close proximity of friendly forces requires exceptional fire discipline and communication to prevent friendly fire incidents during the confusion of city fighting. Open field engagements allow Titan formations to employ their full range of tactical capabilities while maximizing the advantages provided by superior firepower and mobility. These operations typically feature longer engagement ranges that favor the heavy weapons carried by God machines, while providing sufficient maneuvering space for complex tactical movements. The doctrine for open terrain combat emphasizes the coordination of different Titan classes to achieve overlapping fields of fire while maintaining tactical flexibility that allows rapid response to changing battlefield conditions. Long-range fire coordination becomes critical in open terrain where the extended sight lines allow engagement of targets at maximum weapon range. Warlord battle titans can engage enemy formations from distances that prevent effective return fire, while Warhound scout titans provide targeting data that enhances accuracy and effectiveness. The coordination of fires from multiple titans allows concentration of firepower against priority targets while distributing defensive responsibilities across the entire formation. Siege operations represent perhaps the most demanding tactical environment for Titan forces, requiring sustained operations against heavily fortified positions that can absorb enormous amounts of punishment while maintaining defensive capability. Siege doctrine emphasizes the systematic reduction of enemy defensive systems through coordinated bombardment that eliminates specific threats in predetermined sequence. The extended duration of siege operations places exceptional demands on logistical systems while requiring careful maintenance of god machine systems under continuous operational stress. Fortification reduction techniques require precise application of firepower against specific structural elements that support enemy defensive systems. Titan crews must identify critical points within fortress designs while calculating firing solutions that achieve maximum structural damage with minimum ammunition expenditure. The process often requires multiple coordinated strikes against different targets to achieve cumulative effects that compromise overall defensive integrity. Counter-battery operations assume critical importance during siege warfare, as enemy artillery and defensive weapons pose significant threats to advancing Titan formations. The identification and elimination of enemy fire support assets requires careful coordination between reconnaissance elements and fire support units, while maintaining sufficient defensive capability to protect against counterattack. The systematic suppression of enemy weapons allows Titan formations to close with fortified positions while minimizing exposure to concentrated defensive fire. The Collegia Titanica that emerged from the devastation of the Horus Heresy bore little resemblance to the mighty organization that had once strode across the galaxy during humanity's golden age of expansion. Where once hundreds of Titan legions had marched beneath the Emperor's banner, now only scattered remnants remained, their numbers so depleted that many Forge worlds struggled to maintain even a single functional maniple. The great legions that had survived the Civil War found themselves reduced to mere shadows of their former strength, their god machines irreplaceable relics from an age when humanity possessed the knowledge and resources to create such marvels with relative ease. Legio Griffonicus, once boasting over 200 war engines, now fielded barely 36 operational Titans scattered across multiple war zones. Their yellow and red war machines had become increasingly precious, each loss representing not just tactical setback, but the permanent diminishment of the Legion's combat capability. The War Griffin's Forge world of Griffon 4 maintained production facilities that could manufacture components and perform major overhauls, yet the creation of entirely new god machines remained beyond their capabilities. Ancient SDC fragments provided incomplete blueprints that tech adepts struggled to interpret, often requiring decades of experimentation to produce even basic replacement parts. The degradation of standard template construct patterns presented perhaps the greatest challenge facing the modern Collegia Titanica. The pristine data cores that had once contained complete construction specifications for every class of Titan had suffered millennia of corruption, data loss, and deliberate sabotage during the Age of Strife and Horus Heresy. Tech adepts worked with fragments of information that often contradicted each other, forcing them to make educated guesses about critical specifications that their predecessors had taken for granted. A single missing variable in plasma containment field equations could result in catastrophic reactor failures that destroyed irreplaceable war engines along with their crews. The constant threat of mechanical failure haunted every Titan deployment in the 41st millennium. God machines that had once operated for centuries without major maintenance now required extensive servicing after every engagement, their ancient systems pushed beyond design tolerances by the accumulated stress of 10,000 years of warfare. Machine spirits that had once been cooperative and predictable became increasingly temperamental, their artificial consciousness patterns corrupted by age and trauma in ways that even the most skilled tech adepts struggled to understand. Legio Astorum discovered this reality during the Sabbat World's crusade when their ancient warlord-class Titan Imperius Dictatio suffered complete reactor failure during a routine patrol mission. The war engine's plasma core, which had functioned flawlessly for over 4 millennia, suddenly destabilized without warning, forcing the crew to perform an emergency shutdown that left the massive machine stranded in hostile territory. Recovery operations required the deployment of an entire maniple to protect the disabled Titan, while specialized tech adepts spent 3 weeks diagnosing and repairing systems that their ancestors would have fixed in hours. The 13th Black Crusade marked the largest deployment of Titan forces since the Horus Heresy, as Forge worlds throughout Imperial space committed their precious god machines to the defense of Cadia and the surrounding systems. The scale of the threat posed by Abaddon's massive fleet forced the Collegia Titanica to abandon their usual conservative deployment policies, concentrating war engines from dozens of legions into formations that had not been seen since the Great Crusade. Yet even this unprecedented mobilization could only field a fraction of the Titan's strength that would have been available during humanity's golden age. Legio Metallica deployed their full strength of 18 operational Titans to the Cadian Gate, representing one of the largest single legion commitments to the campaign. Their silver and black war engines took positions along the fortress world's primary defensive line, their weapons trained on the massive Chaos fleet assembling in the system's outer reaches. The Iron Skull's reputation for reliability proved crucial during the extended siege that followed, as their robust construction and simplified maintenance requirements allowed them to maintain operational readiness, while other legions struggled with mechanical failures and supply shortages. The emergence of Chaos Titans during the 13th Black Crusade demonstrated how far the traitor legions had fallen from their original glory. These corrupted war engines bore only passing resemblance to their Imperial counterparts, their hulls twisted by demonic influence into nightmarish configurations that defied conventional engineering principles. Organic growths pulsed along their armor plating, while weapon systems that fired projectiles of crystallized screams replaced traditional armaments. The sight of these abominations advancing across Cadia's scarred landscape filled even veteran Imperial crews with horror and rage. The Chaos Titan Contumelius exemplified the depths of corruption that had consumed the traitor god machines. Once a proud warlord-class war engine of Legio Mortis, the machine had been so thoroughly possessed by demonic entities that its original structure was barely recognizable beneath layers of bone and flesh that had grown from its metal frame. Its weapons fired shells that screamed with the voices of the damned, while its void shields flickered with unholy energies that seemed to draw power from the suffering of nearby populations. Imperial Titan crews faced the psychological challenge of engaging enemies that had once served alongside them, their corrupted machine spirits broadcasting emanations of despair and madness that could overwhelm unprepared minds. The blessed rituals and protective wards that shielded Imperial crews from such influences became more important than ever, as exposure to chaos corruption could turn loyal princeps into willing servants of the dark gods. Several Imperial Titans were lost not to enemy fire, but to crew members who succumbed to demonic whispers and turned their weapons against their own forces. The Indomitus Crusade that followed the Great Rift's opening brought both hope and new challenges to the beleaguered Collegia Titanica. Robute Guilliman's return sparked a renaissance of technological recovery, as Belisarius Cahl's innovations provided new techniques for maintaining and upgrading ancient war engines. The Archmagos Dominus had spent 10 millennia studying Titan construction principles, developing improved plasma containment systems, and enhanced neural interface technologies that could extend the operational life of existing god machines while improving their combat effectiveness. Call's modifications to the Warlord-class Titan Dominus Rex demonstrated the potential for upgrading ancient war engines without compromising their essential characteristics. The improvements included enhanced reactor shielding that reduced radiation exposure for crew members, upgraded targeting systems that improved weapon accuracy by significant margins, and reinforced structural elements that allowed the war engine to absorb more battle damage before suffering critical failures. These enhancements required months of careful work by master tech adepts, but the results justified the investment by extending the Titan's operational lifespan by centuries. The Primaris Space Marines' integration into Imperial military doctrine created new opportunities for combined operations that leveraged the enhanced capabilities of Guilliman's improved warriors alongside traditional Titan formations. The Primaris Marines' superior equipment and training made them ideal partners for god-machine operations, their enhanced durability allowing them to operate in environments contaminated by Titan plasma weapons, while their improved communication systems facilitated better coordination with war engine crews. Yet the Indomitus Crusade also revealed the extent to which the Imperium's enemies had evolved to counter Titan tactics. Orc Gargants had grown larger and more sophisticated since the heresy, their crude but effective construction allowing them to match Imperial god machines in size while exceeding them in raw destructive potential. These massive constructs incorporated scavenged Imperial technology alongside Orc innovations that defied conventional understanding of physics, creating war engines that could absorb tremendous punishment while delivering devastating counterattacks. The Battle of Vigilis saw Orc Gargants deploy in unprecedented numbers, their crude construction allowing the Greenskins to field dozens of these massive war engines against Imperial defenders who could barely muster a single maniple of operational Titans. The Orc machines compensated for their inferior technology through sheer numbers and reckless aggression, their crews showing no concern for casualties as they charged directly into Imperial firing lines. The sight of massive Orc constructs advancing through concentrated Titan fire while suffering horrific damage, yet continuing to fight challenged traditional Imperial tactical doctrine. The Big Stampa that led the Orc assault on Vigilis stood nearly as tall as an Emperor-class Titan, its ramshackle construction incorporating salvaged Imperial weapons alongside Orc innovations that generated effects bordering on the miraculous. The machine's primary weapon appeared to be a massive cannon assembled from battleship components, its barrel reinforced with scrap metal and blessed by Orc mechboys, whose understanding of physics operated according to principles that Imperial scientists found incomprehensible. When the weapon fired, it generated explosions that could be seen from orbit, while the recoil forces threatened to tear the Gargant apart. Tyrannid Bio-Titans represented perhaps the most disturbing development in the galaxy's ongoing conflicts, as the Great Devourer's hive fleets began deploying living creatures that matched Imperial god machines in both size and destructive capability. These organisms combine the mobility and adaptability of biological systems with weapons that rivaled the most advanced Imperial technology, creating opponents that could evolve and adapt their tactics in real time based on battlefield conditions. The Hierophant Bio-Titan encountered during the battle for Baal demonstrated capabilities that challenged fundamental assumptions about biological limitations. The creature stood 40 meters tall and moved with fluid grace that no mechanical construct could match, its living armor capable of regenerating damage, while its bioweapons fired projectiles that seemed to home in on their targets through unknown sensory mechanisms. Most disturbing of all, the creature appeared to learn from each engagement, adapting its tactics and even its physical structure to counter Imperial responses. Imperial Titan crews found themselves facing enemies that could not be defeated through conventional firepower alone. Bio-Titans that suffered crippling damage would retreat to digest fallen biomass and regenerate their wounds, returning to battle with enhanced capabilities that reflected their previous combat experience. The creature's ability to communicate through synaptic links meant that knowledge gained by one bio-titan could be instantly shared with others, creating a collective intelligence that grew more dangerous with each encounter. The psychological impact of fighting such creatures proved almost as challenging as their physical capabilities. Imperial crews trained to engage mechanical opponents found themselves disturbed by enemies that bled when wounded and screamed when damaged, their biological nature triggering instinctive responses that could compromise tactical decision-making. The sight of bio-titans feeding on fallen Imperial vehicles, while their wounds closed in real-time, created trauma that persisted long after battles ended. Modern Titan maintenance had become an exercise in archaeological reconstruction, as tech adepts worked to keep ancient machines operational with increasingly limited resources and knowledge. The rituals that had once been purely ceremonial now served essential functions in maintaining machine-spirit cooperation, as the artificial intelligences dwelling within aged god machines became increasingly difficult to manage. Princeps reported that their war engines had developed distinct personalities and preferences that required careful accommodation to maintain optimal performance. The Warlord-class Titan, Ferrum Morgulus of Legio Graphonicus, exemplified these challenges, as its machine spirit had become so particular about maintenance procedures that even minor deviations from established rituals could result in system malfunctions. The war engine would only accept lubricants blessed by specific tech adepts, refused to operate certain weapon systems during particular phases of the local lunar cycle, and required daily recitation of its complete battle history before agreeing to power up its primary systems. While such behavior might have been dismissed as superstition in earlier eras, the practical reality was that accommodating these preferences kept the irreplaceable war engine operational. The shortage of qualified princeps had reached critical levels by the 41st millennium, as the extensive neural modifications required for Titan operation carried increasingly high failure rates when applied to candidates with inferior genetic compatibility. The pool of suitable individuals had been steadily depleted by 10 millennia of warfare, leaving many Forge worlds unable to crew their remaining god machines, even when the war engines themselves remained operational. Some legions resorted to using princeps whose neural drift had progressed to dangerous levels, accepting the risks of unstable crew members rather than leaving valuable titans inactive. Training new princeps required years of preparation that many Forge worlds could no longer afford, as the constant demands of warfare left little time for the careful conditioning and augmentation procedures that successful integration demanded. Accelerated training programs produced crews with higher failure rates and reduced operational lifespans, creating a vicious cycle that further depleted the available pool of qualified operators. The loss of experienced princeps during combat operations became increasingly catastrophic, as their accumulated knowledge and machine spirit bonds could not be easily replaced. The Forge worlds themselves struggled to maintain the industrial capacity necessary to support their remaining Titan legions. Ancient production facilities required constant maintenance using techniques that were poorly understood, while the raw materials needed for specialized components became increasingly difficult to obtain. Many Forge worlds had been forced to cannibalize non-essential systems to keep their most critical facilities operational, creating a gradual decline in overall manufacturing capability that threatened long-term sustainability. Metallica's primary Titan assembly facility exemplified these challenges, as the massive complex required components manufactured on dozens of other worlds to maintain full operational capability. Supply disruptions caused by warp storms, pirate attacks, or simple bureaucratic inefficiency could halt production for months, while essential materials were located and transported across hostile space. The facility's tech adepts had become experts at improvisation, developing workaround solutions that maintained basic functionality while sacrificing the precision and reliability that their predecessors had taken for granted. The strategic deployment of Titan forces in the 41st millennium required careful calculation of risks and benefits that would have been unnecessary during the Imperium's Golden Age. Each god machine represented such a significant investment of resources and irreplaceable knowledge that their loss could cripple a Forge world's military capability for centuries. Legion commanders found themselves forced to choose between deploying their precious war engines to address immediate threats or preserving them for even greater dangers that might emerge in the future. This conservative approach to Titan deployment sometimes created strategic vulnerabilities, as Imperial forces lacked the overwhelming firepower that god machines could provide during critical battles. The loss of key worlds that might have been saved by Titan intervention weighed heavily on Legion commanders who understood that their caution, while tactically sound, might be contributing to the Imperium's gradual decline. The balance between preservation and utilization of irreplaceable assets became one of the most challenging aspects of modern Titan warfare. Despite these overwhelming challenges, the god machines of the 41st millennium continued to serve as symbols of imperial might and technological achievement. When Titans did take the field, their impact on both friendly and enemy forces remained as profound as it had been during the Great Crusade. The sight of these towering war engines advancing across contested battlefields still inspired awe and terror in equal measure, their presence often proving decisive even when their numbers were small. The Collegia Titanica's adaptation to the harsh realities of the 41st millennium demonstrated the resilience and determination that had allowed the Imperium to survive 10,000 years of constant warfare. Though reduced in numbers and struggling with technological limitations that would have seemed impossible to their predecessors, the god machines and their crews continued to serve as the ultimate expression of humanity's refusal to surrender in the face of an increasingly hostile galaxy. The towering silhouettes of Imperial Titans have transcended their original purpose as weapons of war to become fundamental symbols of the Emperor's divine authority and humanity's technological mastery over the hostile galaxy. Across countless worlds, populations that have never witnessed these god machines in battle still recognize their distinctive forms from cathedral frescoes, propaganda hololiths, and the countless monuments erected in their honor. The mere image of a warlord-class Titan striding across a battlefield has become synonymous with imperial might, its cathedral-like architecture and aquila-crowned head serving as potent reminders that the Emperor's protection extends even to the most distant frontier worlds. This symbolic power extends far beyond simple military intimidation to encompass deep-rooted psychological and spiritual significance within imperial culture. Citizens across the galaxy view Titans as physical manifestations of the Emperor's will, walking cathedrals that carry his divine presence directly into battle against the forces of darkness. The god machine's towering height places them literally above mortal concerns, their weapon systems channeling destructive forces that mirror the Emperor's own power to smite his enemies. When Imperial forces advance behind the protection of Titan void shields, they march beneath the aegis of divinity itself, their courage bolstered by the knowledge that they serve alongside instruments of divine wrath. The architectural elements incorporated into Titan design reinforce this religious symbolism through deliberate aesthetic choices that echo the greatest imperial cathedrals and temples. Gothic spires crown command sections, while flying buttresses support weapon mounts, creating silhouettes that immediately identify these machines as sacred instruments rather than mere military hardware. The aquila symbols that dominate Titan heraldry serve as constant reminders of imperial authority, their spread wings visible from kilometers away as they advance across contested battlefields. Even the mechanical sounds produced by walking god machines have acquired religious significance, their thunderous footsteps interpreted as the Emperor's heartbeat made manifest in the material realm. Imperial Guard regiments that have fought alongside Titan formations report profound psychological effects that persist long after campaigns conclude. Soldiers describe feelings of invincibility and righteous purpose when advancing behind the protective bulk of god machines, their normal fear of death overwhelmed by the conviction that they serve as instruments of divine will. Veterans speak of hearing hymnal music in the harmonic frequencies generated by Titan void shields, while the sight of enemy formations fleeing before advancing war engines reinforces their faith in the Emperor's ultimate victory over the galaxy's manifold threats. The loss of individual Titans represents catastrophes that extend far beyond simple military setbacks to encompass profound spiritual and cultural trauma for the Imperial forces that witness their destruction. Each god machine embodies millennia of accumulated history, its machine spirit housing the memories of countless battles and the wisdom of generations of crew members who have bonded with its artificial consciousness. When these irreplaceable war engines fall in battle, they take with them not just devastating firepower, but living repositories of tactical knowledge and spiritual significance that cannot be replaced through any amount of industrial production. The destruction of the Warlord-class Titan Honoris Causa during the Third War for Armageddon exemplified the devastating impact that Titan losses inflict upon Imperial morale and operational capability. The ancient war engine had served Legio Metallica for over 3,000 years, its machine spirit containing detailed tactical data from hundreds of engagements, while its crew compartments housed sacred relics and battle honors that connected the Legion to its most glorious victories. When Orc Gargants finally overwhelmed the wounded Titan's defenses, the explosion that consumed its plasma reactor core was visible from orbit. Its death scream transmitted across all communication frequencies as the machine spirit's final act of defiance. The psychological trauma experienced by surviving Imperial forces who witnessed the Titan's destruction manifested in widespread demoralization that required months of intensive spiritual counseling to overcome. Guardsmen who had fought beneath the war engine's protection reported nightmares and panic attacks, their faith in Imperial invincibility shattered by the sight of a god machine reduced to radioactive scrap. The loss resonated throughout the entire Armageddon campaign as other Imperial formations struggled with reduced effectiveness while grappling with the implications of witnessing divine instruments prove mortal after all. Tech adepts who had served aboard destroyed Titans often suffered complete psychological breakdown, their neural modifications creating feedback loops that amplified their grief beyond normal human tolerance. These individuals had spent decades in direct communion with machine spirits, their consciousness partially merged with artificial intelligences whose destruction left gaping wounds in their psyche that conventional therapy could not address. Many required complete neural reconstruction or permanent sedation to prevent their trauma from manifesting in violent outbursts that endangered surrounding personnel. The irreplaceable nature of each Titan extends beyond their individual significance to encompass the accumulated knowledge and experience that dies with them. Modern machine spirits contain tactical algorithms developed through millennia of combat experience, their decision-making processes refined through countless engagements against every conceivable enemy type. The destruction of ancient war engines eliminates this accumulated wisdom permanently, forcing replacement crews to begin the learning process anew without the benefit of their predecessors' hard-won experience. The ongoing efforts to discover new standard template construct fragments have become one of the Imperium's highest strategic priorities, as these ancient data cores represent the only hope for restoring lost Titan construction capabilities. Exploiter fleets venture into the galaxy's most dangerous regions following rumors of intact SDC systems, their crews willing to face any hazard for the chance of recovering even fragmentary construction data. The Adeptus Mechanicus maintains extensive archives documenting potential SDC locations while offering enormous rewards for information that leads to successful recoveries. Recent discoveries have provided tantalizing glimpses of humanity's lost technological capabilities while highlighting the enormous challenges involved in reconstructing complete construction patterns from fragmentary data. The SDC fragment recovered from the derelict space hulk Eternal Vigilance contained partial specifications for Warhound-class reactor systems, yet the incomplete data required decades of careful analysis before tech adepts could safely implement the improvements described in the ancient files. Even this limited success represented a major breakthrough that enhanced the reliability and power output of newly constructed Scout Titans across multiple Forge worlds. The Forge world of Lucius achieved perhaps the most significant recent breakthrough when their Explorator teams recovered a nearly complete STC pattern for Reaver-class Void Shield generators from a long-lost research station in the galactic core. The ancient data contained construction specifications that exceeded current Imperial capabilities by significant margins, describing shield systems that could maintain protection while consuming substantially less power than contemporary designs. The implementation of these improvements required extensive modification of existing production facilities, while the enhanced generators themselves demanded rare materials that could only be obtained through complex trade negotiations with distant Forge worlds. Attempts to reverse engineer captured alien technology have produced mixed results, as the fundamental design principles underlying non-human war engines often prove incompatible with Imperial manufacturing techniques and spiritual requirements. The examination of destroyed Eldar Titans revealed construction methods that incorporated psychically responsive materials and gravitic manipulation systems that Imperial science could not replicate, while their apparent lack of machine spirits created philosophical problems for tech adepts trained to view consciousness as essential to proper mechanical function. Orc-Gargant technology presented different challenges, as the crude but effective construction methods employed by greenskin mechboys operated according to principles that defied conventional understanding of physics and engineering. Imperial attempts to reproduce Orc innovations typically resulted in catastrophic failures when removed from the psychic field effects generated by Orc populations, suggesting that their technology relied on supernatural forces that human science could not harness safely. The recovery and restoration of damaged Titans has become an art form practiced by master tech adepts whose skills rival those of the ancient artificers who originally constructed these war engines. Salvage operations following major battles often focus more heavily on recovering Titan components than on rescuing conventional military equipment, as even heavily damaged God machines may contain systems that can be restored to operational status through careful reconstruction. The process requires months or years of painstaking work, as specialists disassemble destroyed war engines component by component, testing each element for potential restoration while cataloging damage patterns that might inform future defensive improvements. The restoration of the Warlord-class Titan, Indomitable Wrath, following its near destruction during the Badab War, demonstrated both the possibilities and limitations of modern reconstruction techniques. The ancient war engine had suffered catastrophic damage when its plasma reactor suffered containment failure, the resulting explosion gutting its internal systems while leaving the basic structural framework intact. Tech adepts from 3 different Forge worlds collaborated on the restoration project, combining their specialized knowledge to rebuild systems that no single facility could have reconstructed independently. The reconstruction process required 7 years of intensive work as specialists fabricated replacement components using techniques that pushed Imperial manufacturing capabilities to their limits. Many critical systems had to be completely rebuilt from fragmentary remains, with tech adepts using archaeological reconstruction methods to determine original specifications from damaged components. The restored Titan incorporated subtle improvements developed during the reconstruction process, its enhanced systems reflecting lessons learned from analyzing the original damage patterns while maintaining compatibility with the ancient machine spirit that had survived the catastrophic failure. The enduring importance of the Collegia Titanica in humanity's struggle for survival has only increased as the galaxy has grown more dangerous, and the threats facing the Imperium have multiplied beyond all previous experience. The opening of the Great Rift has unleashed demonic incursions that require the concentrated firepower of god machines to contain, while the expansion of Tyranid hive fleets presents biological horrors that conventional weapons cannot effectively engage. In this darkening age, the Titans represent one of humanity's few remaining advantages over enemies that seem to grow stronger and more numerous with each passing year. The psychological impact of Titan deployment extends beyond the immediate battlefield to encompass strategic effects that influence entire campaign outcomes. Enemy commanders who learn of Titan involvement in opposing forces often modify their tactical approaches significantly, avoiding direct confrontation while seeking alternative objectives that do not require engaging god machines directly. This deterrent effect multiplies the strategic value of Titan formations far beyond their actual combat capabilities, as their mere presence can shape enemy decision-making across entire theater operations. The training facilities that produce new Titan crews have become sacred sites where the most advanced imperial military doctrine is preserved and transmitted to future generations. These installations combine technological education with spiritual preparation, creating warrior priests whose dedication to the Emperor's service transcends normal military loyalty to approach religious devotion. The graduates of these programs carry forward traditions that stretch back to the Great Crusade, while adapting ancient wisdom to address contemporary threats that their predecessors never imagined. As the 41st millennium draws toward its close and the galaxy descends ever deeper into warfare and chaos, the god machines of the Collegia Titanica stand as humanity's last great weapons against the darkness. Their towering forms stride across battlefields where the fate of entire worlds hangs in the balance, their weapons channeling the Emperor's wrath against enemies that would see humanity extinct. Though their numbers have dwindled and their construction secrets have been largely lost, these walking cathedrals continue to embody humanity's refusal to surrender in the face of overwhelming odds. The machine spirits that dwell within these ancient war engines carry forward the accumulated wisdom of 10,000 years of warfare, their artificial consciousness preserving tactical knowledge and combat experience that represents humanity's greatest military heritage. Each time a Titan takes the field, it brings to bear not just devastating firepower, but the collective memory of every battle fought and every victory won since the Emperor first united Terra under his rule. In the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, the god machines of the Collegia Titanica remain humanity's greatest hope for survival against the manifold threats that seek to extinguish the light of human civilization forever. The legacy of these towering war engines extends beyond their immediate military function to encompass their role as symbols of human achievement and divine protection in an increasingly hostile universe. As long as Titans walk the battlefields of the 41st millennium, humanity retains both the means to defend itself against its enemies and the spiritual strength to continue fighting in the Emperor's name. They are the last echoes of humanity's golden age, walking reminders that even in the galaxy's darkest hour, the species that once conquered the stars still possesses the will and the weapons to forge its own destiny among the endless conflicts that define existence in the grim darkness of the far future.